Peace. What's going on, fam? We'll wait for the room to fill up a little bit. Let me share this link out some more. We're gonna talk about the problematic bill proposal. Excuse me, because I messed up yesterday, and I'm gonna get into that. Yesterday, I kept conflating this House resolution with an actual bill. I was so anxious to break it down and get into it. So we're going to get into this thing. Let me see. Get into this problematic House resolution that was proposed by Cori Bush. And some of this language is extremely problematic. Make sure y'all tweet the space out. This is gonna be a discussion for the next several days. I've actually been invited on a radio show, Sirius XM, to have this discussion. I'll provide those details when I get them, because we see the play that the Democratic Party is making at this point, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting. You take a people that are voting for this party because they believe, and I don't even think they believe in the party. I don't believe that Black people necessarily believe in the party. The party, and when I say the party, I'm speaking of the Democrats. I believe that what the Democrats do, and this has been going on with me and my bro Ali was just talking about this not too long ago, right? What is the purpose of these parties other than to shit on the other party? Because that's just what they do. And so they make the other party look bad at any cost. They will ignore, like Republicans, for instance, they'll ignore everything else that's wrong with the country just to make the party look bad, and they'll blame it on the party. The Democrats will then take that and say, look at how they are dissing you, Black people, and by proxy, you brown people, right? Which are, these people that are called brown are actually classified as white and Hispanic in this country, but that's another story. And it becomes a ball of confusion when we are looking at it through the lens of party politics. And our people get caught up in it. And we vote for the Dems because we are being programmed and indoctrinated to believe that the other party is just so evil and they're just so racist that we can't see the racism coming from the Democratic Party. And because the Democratic Party has people Black people, most freedmen, many of them are freedmen. And when I say freedmen, I mean those of us that can trace our ancestral roots back to an emancipated person in this country from that period of slavery. They get out and they muddy up our political plight even more. Hank Johnson is I think he's a House rep down here in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. He was on, I believe they were on the Hill. This video came out about a week ago. And he was speaking about this immigration crisis. And he was responding to the Republicans. Now, this is a Black man, Hank Johnson. He's responding to the Republicans who are speaking against it and how we have to stop this influx of immigration. And I don't really believe that a lot of Republicans are trying to really, really stop immigration. They know that it hurts Black people and they don't care about us. They're showing that right now. They know that it particularly hurts the American freedmen. They know that. And Hank Johnson said, without these immigrants, we won't have food on our tables. This is what this Democratic Party politician said. In an attempt to gaslight the American public, but more so gaslight us American freedmen, AKA the black folk in America, who must be so dumb that we can tell the largest unemployed group in the country that we need these immigrants because, you know, they do the jobs that black people don't do. Like, really? Because I'm starting to see them take over whole plants in Georgia. I've heard a story about a plant in South Carolina where it started with one or two of them. You have one Puerto Rican sister that came down from New York, and she let in all the Mexicans. And now the Mexicans are overrepresented in this plant, way more so than the freedmen in South Carolina in this particular plant. What black Democrats are doing right now is shameful. Shameful. And you notice when we hold our Twitter spaces, and I'm going to get into the topic, I'm just warming everything up, you know, get some people to come up in here. And I really just want to have a Twitter space record. Again, we're going to be talking about this over the next couple days. You could go watch the breakdown we did on our BTP Media Group channel last night, where we broke pieces of Cori Bush's problematic legislative proposal, House resolution proposal down. And I'm going to get into that because I kind of was conflating a House resolution with a bill last night in my haste. And, you know, sometimes when you're on live, especially when I'm on YouTube, I'm distracted because I have to watch the chat. And I'm also listening to myself to make sure I don't make any errors with what I'm talking about. All of that is a distraction. Trying to do, do those types of live streams like that, you're going to make errors. There's going to be some errors. It happens. It happens to the best of them. So let me continue with what I was saying. What the Democrats are doing right now is utterly disgusting. It's disgusting because they are slapping us in the face. The right wing in this country have decided that they was going to die on the hill of dissing black people. Matt Walsh, a darling of the right, he just put out a tweet saying that Karen was racist. He's a troll. He's a clown. He's a clown. These people would never have no serious conversations with any one of us. A week prior, he put out a tweet saying that, and it wasn't even a tweet, it was a video clip. He actually broadcasted him saying they should be able to say the N-word. Like, why can't we say nigga? But Karen is racist. Karen is racist. I think they lay there at night and be like, how can I troll black people? Like him, the Vivek Ramaswamy dude, and my people in Chicago. He's going to be in Chicago today. Make sure y'all pull up. Give him all of the smoke. Asphyxiate him with the smoke. To all my people in Chicago that's listening in today. The reparations. The right wing has chosen to take this reparations fight and politicize it because they know that the Democrats do not support reparations. Biden's administration has come out and already said they don't support it. They do or will support a study on reparations, but he's not, meaning Joe Biden, signing any EOs, executive orders, in that regard. How much do you support it? You don't support it because you've been saying for years that you do not support reparations. And so we get this debacle. That's what I'm calling it, a debacle, a symbolic debacle. Cori Bush with this House Resolution 414. I'm going to get into that a little bit as we go along. And I'm hoping, because I know that there's people in the Twitter sphere that are, they're Democrats. I can tell by their arguments. And it's so weird that we can never get these people to come in and have these debates. So instead of debating me like the guy Steven, for instance, it's like, you know what? I can't beat this guy in a debate. I'm going to just troll him and disrespect him on his timeline. He's just going to block me and I'm going to go away. And here I don't got to deal with Naheem, which is exactly what happened. The same thing with the little soft, moist dude, call me D or whatever his name is. Now, you notice they never, ever come in to these spaces because they know they're going to get cooked. They have no arguments here. They cannot win these types of debates. And there's other people in this sphere who rock with the Democratic Party. And I listen to them, I watch them, and they're trying to undermine what we reparationists are trying to do. And they try to make it seem like we're exaggerating when we speak about the topic of immigration and how Pan-Africanists are actively undermining the push for reparations. Actively. And they stay, and every so often I'll jump on one of their tweets and prod them a little bit. Wrong. Just to see what their responses is going to be. I'll be like, no response? Interesting. So, I mean, this is what we have to deal with as reparationists. Those of us that are really about reparations, we know who we are in this space. We know who we are. We know what we're fighting for. We know what the end result is going to be. We see the path ahead, and we see all of the battles, the obstacles, the hurdles that we have to overcome. And those of us that put our intellectual foot forward, well, we're putting our intellectual foot forward because we know that that's what it's going to take to get us to the next level. And what Cori Bush did with this proposal was horrible. And if you look at the press conference they did outside of DC, I seen some stuff coming out of DC. I was scratching my head and people was hitting me up like, you see this? I was like, yeah, I'll peep that. I peep that. I don't know. I ain't going to jump to no conclusions, though. I'm going to be easy. But, I'm just setting the stage before I get into the breakdown. So when Clubhouse gets popular, of course, everything we decide that we are going to invest our energy in as a people, we're the ones that make it pop. It was American freedmen that made Clubhouse pop. And I don't care what they call themselves, they are American freedmen. They are American freedmen. Many people heard the term freedman first on Clubhouse. The panties, as we call them, they followed. And there was much debate. And every time the panties would get cooked. And it got to the point where the panties, and when I say panties, I mean the Pan-Africans, they abandoned debate tactics, like normal debate tactics. And they chose the route of slander. and lies and deceit and deception. I watched it play out in real time. I said it on the live stream last night. I was in the room with the Nkechi Taifa and Jam, Iwu Yor, Jessica Ann Mitchell. Like that is that person is a snake. Like we gotta call a snake a snake. And they work directly for the Democrats. And I said that there was a brother that was hosting a clubhouse room, Brother Rob Bourne. I came in this clubhouse. That was, matter of fact, that was the clubhouse room where I went in and I basically decapitated the whole Pan-Africanist crew. Jam, all of them. I can't even remember who all was in that room. Oh, Digital Sister was also in that room. The one that went on NBC and was calling the ADOS movement bots. She was basically saying there was really no ADOS movement at the time, that these were paid Russian bots. She went on NBC and said that. I balled her up. I really don't like debating with women at all. I'll try to get the sisters to debate with the sisters, but that opportunity presented itself and I had to ball them up. And you know how you ball up a piece of paper? I had to ball them up. I just had to, because the room was packed and people, especially the hosts of that particular clubhouse room, needed to understand you are trying to do Afrocentric scholarism. These people are trying to do Pan-African politics. I said, these people, I explained to him, you don't understand this fight, bro. You think we're having a Sonetta TV battle, but that's not what this is. That's not what this is. These people are Democratic operatives fighting for the Democratic Party. And I broke down the hierarchy from top to bottom with all of the different actors and factors, if you will, in between. From Biden and Kamala to Ron Daniels and Cam Howard, Narkin and Cobra, to Roland Martin and his people, Greg Carr, to Mark Thompson, Ray Wimbush, all the way down to the low-level slithering snake, Jessica Ann Mitchell Iwuyar. These people are actively undermining the reparations, the grassroots reparationists in the United States. They make arguments that make no sense, and they know that they are lying. They know that. So we're going to go through some of what Cori Bush has put in this proposal. And then, if anybody has anything that they want to share, come up. I'm going to give my bro co-host invite. Ibrahim, I don't know if you were out and about right now or if you're available, but I just sent you the co-host invite. Anybody else that got anything that they want to share, definitely come up, because something that we got to talk about, man. Because I did a tweet that said, this is the Democratic Party flexing on us. This is the party flexing on us via their black pets. These same problematic individuals, Mark Thompson and all of them people that you've seen in that picture, the Nkechi Taifas, and I didn't see Jam there, but her fingerprints is all over this obstruction, all over it. And this monstrosity of a House resolution. So I didn't see like the good stuff that people was talking about outside of, there's some language in it that you lifted from the reparationists across social media because you've been listening to us. Outside of that, you can't sprinkle sugar on shit and make it seem like it's chocolate ice cream, because that's what this is. This is shit with sugar sprinkled on it. And we have to call it. Yeah, we have to call it for what it is. So this is House Resolution 414. And it was introduced 2 days ago, May 17th. And the opening line to the House resolution is problematic. And let me make a point of clarification before I get it, I go in. Because yesterday I got to a point where in the live stream, where I confused the House resolution with a bill. And these two things are not the same. They're not the same. They're two very different things. House resolutions, for instance, do not require any presidential action. It's basically, if I could sum it up in a layman's way, it's something that is agreed upon by the majority, right? If it even gets to that point. Hold on, my bad, y'all. I just got distracted. Hold on. And I was supposed to send this link out. One second. All right. So, and I just pulled it up because I just want to be clear as well, too. House resolutions are not binding law, but rather express the collective sentiment of the House on a particular issue, person, or event. House committees may also be formed through the passage of a House resolution. Now, we already know that H.R. 40, on the other hand, well, it has went through the process. It's an actual bill that has gone through, the process from going through the hopper and getting picked up to be called for a vote, and arguments and editing and in a final vote and all the stuff that goes with a bill. I'm kind of butchering that part of it, but I really just wanted to make a point of clarity on how I kind of, just was off a little bit yesterday because at some point in the live stream, I conflated a House resolution with the bill. And that's why when you hear Cori Bush doing the press conference, the photo op press conference in Washington, D.C., she keeps saying H.R. 40 is the way. She repeated that like 3 different times, but H.R. 40 is not the way. H.R. 40 is not the way. H.R. 40 is another horrible piece of Pan-African legislation that we didn't realize was bad at the time until our political minds matured. So let us get into Cori Bush's resolution. Make sure y'all show the space some love, share it out. Let's see if we could get some debate going, because we have a lot of people in the Pan-African space that they got a lot of smoke for the reparations. They don't really ever bring that smoke to us. So y'all already know this is the smoking section over here. This ain't the no smoking section. This is the smoking session over here. So, and I want somebody to try to come up and justify this stuff in light of what we know about strict scrutiny and suspect classifications. I'll explain that in a few. So the first line of the header of House Res 414 says, recognizing that the United States has a moral and legal obligation to provide reparations for the enslavement of Africans and its lasting harm on the lives of millions of Black people in the United States. Right-wingers will not have to get past that first line. That is enough to sink this whole thing if it is to boil over into something else. That this thing was built upon a faulty premise. Because the United States does not have a moral or legal obligation to provide reparations for the enslavement of Africans. That part is off. That's bad language right there. The United States becomes a country in 1776. The United States becomes a country in 1776. That's first and foremost. And in this, right, let's go here. It says, whereas 1619, a year before the Mayflower arrived on American shores, marked the first year white Virginians purchased around 30 enslaved Angolans from Portuguese traders who were forcefully transported through the transatlantic slave trade, thereafter launching a violent system of racial subjugation, exploitation, and genocide. This is historically inaccurate. This is historically inaccurate. There's a space in between 1619 and the violent system of racial subjugation, exploitation, and genocide. And you best believe the right-wingers are going to point it out. I broke some of it down on the live stream last night. Me and Brother Ali was actually having a discussion / mini debate about 1619 earlier and those 20 and odd Negroes that came over. And, he has a different perspective on it. And I think he's going to come on in a few. And we'll chop it up on that a little later. It also says, whereas scholars have estimated that the United States benefited from 222,505,049 hours of forced labor between 1619 and the end of slavery in 1865, which would be valued at $97 trillion today. Again, from 1619 to the end of slavery in 1865 is bad language. And the right wing is going to challenge the historicity of that claim, and they're going to be successful. Now, we've been saying this on our platform for years. Oh, man, Ron-O was in the building. I was going to bring up this next part just because he was here, because we had this discussion in person about Marcus Garvey. I was hoping the brother would have stayed in here. Whereas, this is what the bill says. Whereas the federal government must exonerate Marcus Mosiah Garvey and Callie House for their unjust targeting and imprisonment, and the president should issue a posthumous pardon to them. Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey wasn't a citizen of the United States of America. We call Marcus Garvey on this side of things the Messiah of mission drift, because what Marcus Garvey was doing was in opposition to American freedmen ideals, which is why the Garvey Must Go movement was founded in the first place. And our freedmen giants like W.E.B. Du Bois and A. Philip Randolph, etc., had problems with this man that came from Jamaica, taking our people off of the path of true American citizenship. And this same man called Africans backwards savages. He called the people on the African continent backwards savages. And I guess he was going to take his European education that he got on the islands and go over there and educate them backwards savages. Don't believe me? Look it up. He said the green in his flag, his RBG flag, that red, black, and green flag that you see all of these people flying, was for the Irish. It's for the Irish. People try to debate us on this, and I'm like, here's the words right here. Here's the words right here. Ibrahim just posted in the inbox, I'll be fighting for reparations. This is what Cori Bush said. I'll be fighting for reparations for African Americans, children of the diaspora, with all of my soul. Expect my mouth, feet, hands, face, and clothing to express my warriorship. So what they're going to do is they're going to Pan-Africanize the movement. That Marcus Garvey reference is Pan-Africanizing the movement. I think I came up with a word last night. diasporaize. They're going to diasporaize the reparations movement. I want to go back to the beginning where it says, for the enslavement of Africans and its lasting harms on the lives of millions of black people in the United States. Africans sold other Africans to Europeans who then brought them over here. So when you use bad language like the enslavement of Africans, you have those that are going to challenge this language, and they will. Whatever comes out of this is going to be challenged, and it's going to get shot down. The courts are going to kill it. Europeans didn't just go into Africa with nets like you see that they use when they're going to capture sardines and stuff like that, or the fish that are called sardines. You know, those are not sardines. They made that name up and called the fish that. I can't remember the exact reason why. Sardinia, I think that was a country, coastal country. I don't know. I can't remember, but those fish are not sardines. They just gave them that name like they gave us Negro, black, colored, mulatto, and every other term that we've answered up to in this country. So that part is false. And when it says the lasting harms on the lives of millions of black people in the United States, well, again, we are getting into racial language now. Racial language. And we know that, and we played on BTP last night. It was the second time that we played Erwin Chemerinsky, the top law scholar in the country. He's the top constitutional law professor / scholar in the country. And we played his expert testimony at the Reparations Task Force, where he spoke very, very clearly about what will trigger strict scrutiny. And that is race-based legislation. Race-based legislation that appears inclusive, or really exclusive, rather. Exclusive. And it does not include any other group. And he touched on Proposition 209, which is a California law that says that you basically cannot create a benefit on the basis of race. He then juxtaposed that with the Supreme Court's ruling on these matters, and he gave two examples. I believe one was in Detroit. I believe it was Detroit, somewhere in Michigan. It could have been Flint. I know he gave two different examples where the courts where there was a challenge to some race-based initiative. And the people that put the initiative together was like, black people are suffering and they need their own teachers. And I think it would be better if they, it's like if we had our own hospitals. Black women are more likely to survive during childbirth and the child when they have a black doctor. A new report just came out a couple months ago that said elderly black people are more likely to survive surgery when they have black doctors, right? And I'm using that term black loosely because I understand what it means and I understand people's understanding of that term. But in legislation, you cannot use this term, black. It says, whereas black people are and have always been human beings, yet the federal government has historically failed to recognize our dignity and humanity. I broke this down last night on the live stream that black people are creatures of legislation. Look up Federal Directive 15 right now, pull it up, and it's going to say that these racial classifications, and there's only two colors, if you will, because black and white and gray are technically not colors. They are shades. They're shades. But for the sake of popular, usage and popular understanding. There's only two colors in the racial classification system, black and white. Black and white. So it says, and black was, let me say, black was given to us so that we could be always viewed as something subhuman. That's what the term Negro means. And Brother Ali is going to be doing a presentation on that really, really soon. Really, really soon. It's going to be powerful. So y'all make sure y'all be on the lookout for that. Whereas, let me see, what was the next one that I pulled up? Whereas to meet the international legal obligation of reparations, the federal government must compensate descendants of enslaved Black people and people of African descent in the United States to account for the harms of chattel slavery, the cumulative damages of enslavement, and the epics of legal and de facto segregation. So where's the problem here, right? And we learned there's a conjunction all the way back in grade school. A conjunctive, I think, I'm saying. It's been so long since I had to conjure up those old parts of speech, right? But I want to read that again. The federal government must compensate descendants of enslaved Black people and people of African descent in the United States. The heads of the organization, that the people that I spoke about earlier, the Nkechi Taifas and Jessica Ann Mitchell Iwuyars, aka Jim Iwar, and all of these Pan-Africanists, their heads, Cam Howard and Ron Daniels, have said on several of occasions that we don't care if the people just came over here last week. They deserve reparations, which means that Cam Howard and Ron Daniels and all of their operatives do not understand what this push and this fight for reparations is about. They don't understand the topic at all, actually. And this piece of legislation, this House resolution proposal, is proof of that. It's proof of that. Why would you add and people of African descent in the United States? They are trying to tie other people into our fight for reparative justice. These people that came over here because they were able to do better than their countrymen in their own country, acquire a high school diploma, or possibly acquire a skill over in one of them African countries, like doctor, nurse, or whatever, and come over here to the United States, finish out their education in a couple years, and the next thing you know, your doctor is from Ghana and your nurse is from Nigeria. Driving Mercedes Benzes and things like that. I've seen it from New York all the way down here to Georgia. You go to any Black city from a freedman city, from the Northeast down to the Southeast, and you're going to see exactly what I'm speaking about. So why would they be pushing for reparations for the descendants of people of African descent at the same time that they're pushing for reparations for the descendants of enslaved Black people? All of that is bad language. So I'm gonna open it up to my bros and see if they got anything they want to say. Ibrahim was up first, so I'm gonna see if Ibrahim got something to say, and then Brother Ali, you already know.
Yeah, let me just add some context to how you ended. When you look at the Color of Wealth LA report, what you find out is that African immigrant Blacks had a median household net worth of $70,000, while U.S. Blacks was only $4,000. If you single Nigerian out solely, theirs would be $100,000. Cori Bush, to me, is just a woman that's all over the place. In her short congressional career, she started a lot of projects. She got no wins. She just starts things and then moves on and starts something else, moves on and starts something else. Even when you look at her history of what the bill she's been trying to get done, it's just all over the place. Cori's profession before she became a congresswoman was a nurse. And I would have thought she would have started at the maternal morbidity for black women in America. That's something you did before you became a congresswoman, but she just skips over all that to some universal health care, and she's fighting for this black Palestinian lady who got killed by the Israeli police named Shireen Abu Akila. And she says she's a Black Lives Matter person, and now she's doing reparations, but she's championing on with Narcan and Cobra and Rashida Tlaib. Y'all remember within a year ago, it was about a year ago, they had a phone recording of Rashida Tlaib saying some disrespectful stuff about the American freedmen
I
community.
remember. I remember.
Now, so this is the person you align with to try to advocate for a reparations policy for American freedmen and all blacks, right? Like this stuff is so disingenuous. I think it's performative politics. It's just a way to keep Cori Bush and other people's name. I guess the what was they calling them at first? What were they calling
The
uh
squad.
the squad? Yeah, that's what it was. I think this is just another one of those grifts that they're using to try to keep their name in the books because all that squad language kind of set aside, and Ocasio or AOC just does whatever she can do to stay in the limelight, even if it means cry on demand. She should really be an actor. But anyway, so when you look at her history, she just starts things, doesn't get anything accomplished, and moves on to something else. The fact that you would even start your claim in 1619 and try to attach that to an America reparations claim doesn't make any sense. There was no America. This was controlled by Great Britain, and parts was controlled by France and a few other countries. I'm not understanding none of this. All I can say is these people just do performative politics. And this is my whole issue with black politicians. Black politicians now, I don't think we should even have black politicians in America unless you about to solely die on the heel of advocating for American freedmen and American freedmen justice. And I say this because when you look at the political apparatus from an outsider's view, you see a whole bunch of black politicians, and I'm using black, right? Not American freedmen, but a whole bunch of black politicians. You see, we had our first quote unquote black president. And from an outsider's view, you say, this is a diverse place. They have representatives from all over the country, right? From all over the world. We got Indians, we got blacks, we got Asians, we got whites, but all of them are advocating for the same issues, right? All of them are ready to die on a hill that doesn't benefit black Americans, right? We see Asian Americans, they get the cinema, and the other Asian American politicians, they get to advocate for their community. AOC and the Latino politicians get to advocate for their community. I can't remember the last time we got it right, right? I think we would have to go back to Maynard Jackson and Marion Barry to really see the last time we had some black politicians that advocated for black community uplift. Now you just get black politicians that come in and they put on dashikis and they wave around pictures of Marcus Garvey, who wasn't even a black American citizen, right? He was an immigrant, and then he was expelled from the country. And they get in line with people like Narcan and Cobra, who've already pledged their allegiance to a country, to a continent that they're not even from, right? They didn't already pledge their allegiance to Africa, but they lived their whole life in America. They only visited Africa, only to come right back to America. But somehow they align their morals, principles, and values with Africa. And not even Africa as it is, but the identity of Africa and how they see it in their head as some utopian society for all black people worldwide. And to me, like, this is just garbage, man. This is just them gearing up for a Juneteenth celebration and to get their names in some newspapers and be on NPR and some different mainstream media. This is nothing right here. This is absolutely nothing, but it's sad because it's coming from our U.S. congressional representatives. Half the people on this list don't even care about reparations. The other half just jumped into reparations recently, right, when it became a hot topic a few years ago. And still their idea of reparations isn't what constitutionally legal, right? They still have this idea that reparations is going to end racism and white supremacy. And I would just say Cori's brand of politics is remedial and juvenile. And nobody should take this stuff seriously. It looks like she's about to be next in line to champion HR 40. Maybe Sheila Jackson Lee is getting tired. She's been in Congress for decades. She ain't did nothing. And I think she's passing the baton on to Cori Bush, who started off as a Black Lives Matter advocate, advocating for all lives, and now she's getting into this reparation space, and she's just not needed here, not in this way. We need somebody serious, somebody who has a proven track record of advocating for American freedmen, at least a proven track record for advocating for Black issues. Cori Bush isn't the person. You know, if we want to be taken seriously, we got to get serious with our politics and serious with those who we let represent us. Cori Bush is just not the person, and this bill is not it. And I don't understand how you align with people who have a negative image of Black America, like Rashida Tlaib, to push something that's extremely important. And I just end on that note. I just see this to be extremely juvenile and unserious and just for the headline. At the end of the day, you know, right now we in an off election cycle. As we get closer to the presidential, I don't even think we're gonna have primaries from the Democratic side because they just dismissing anybody that tries to run against Biden. So as we get closer to the general election, you'll see all this stuff go away, and then they'll pick it back up after whoever becomes president, so they can grab some headline. These people is unserious, and I'm gonna just end on that note.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, it's all performative because if you were to ask Biden, right, at the press gaggle, and a reporter says, yes, Cori Bush is, she did a press conference the other day with HR 414, a proposal. I mean, what is the actual recognizing that the United States has a moral and legal obligation to provide reparations for the enslavement of Africans and its lasting harm on the lives of millions of Black people in the United States. Again, we point out that that's horrible language, horrible language. But if Biden was pressed with that question, or his press secretary, they are going to dance a jig on that joint. They are going to they're going to tap dance all around it. And they're going to say, look, the administration, we support HR 40. We support the study. If the bill comes across my desk, right? This is something Biden will say, a political answer. If the bill comes across my desk, I'll sign it. The thing is, the bill is not going to come across. It's not going to come across your desk. And we know that. And we know that the Democratic Party, we've been through this. Those of us that's in the reparations grassroots. But it wasn't until Gayle King did her CBS morning special after Tommy Tuberville's racist comments about we want reparations, Black people, freedmen in this country want reparations because they're criminals. We want reparations. What did he say? We want reparations for the crimes that we do because basically we criminals. And it's like, what does... And everybody in the crowd was like, woo-hoo, yeah. Like, what did this dude just even say? But in that segment, Gayle King showed us. She showed it on the screen. The Democratic Party does not actively support reparations. So we are like a ping pong ball being slapped around by the Republicans on one hand, who is dissing reparations because they know that it's politically advantageous and white supremacists don't want to see Black people equal on their level in anything. And the last vestige of that is what? It's money. That's why there's a thing called the wealth gap. That's what makes, we got to find a way to just remain superior. Well, we got more money than they do. Don't give the niggers nothing. We owe them. We know we owe them. We know it. But we're going to say everything else to oppose the fact that this country owes the American freedmen for the work that we did in slavery and all of the atrocities that we faced after slavery.
We
All of
don't
them.
we don't owe them, we owe their ancestors. Since their
Yeah,
ancestors
right.
ain't here to collect the debt,
That's right.
then the debt was forgiven
Yeah,
or it
because
just became null and void.
because the Japanese Americans, they were they had descendants. That was 1989 when the Civil Liberties Act passed. That World War II, when did the internment happen? In the 40s of the Japanese Americans? A lot of them people were dead. And their descendants got that direct payment. See, when
I
you
mean,
bring
it's same for the families of the Confederate soldiers that lost.
That's right. That's right. All right, Ali, what you got to share on the topic? Then we're going to go to the audience, Brother Fearless, Sister Queen B.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, man, I agree with everything Brother Ibrahim just put down. He explained it really great in terms of who Cori Bush is, what a track record is, and what this is about. I think also that a part of what's going on that we see happening is that um, they're acting, in my opinion, and some on some level as obstructionists, right? And I think what they're trying to do is get in front of, at the federal level, this concept of ancestral based reparative measures. You see what I'm saying? I don't think they really want that to be the case, and that's pretty much obvious in the language of the legislation itself. So you can see that, um, with the all inclusive Black terminology, African terminology, right? And I really believe that that's what this is an attempt on their part to kind of cut you off at the pass, right? Because they see the momentum kicking up in the country. They see the momentum picking up in the country, and they really kind of want to head it off at the federal level as quickly as they can. Because you saw the article that Jam put out, and the article that Michael Harriot put out, and talking about how, lineage-based reparations is not a good thing because it's going to leave out so many people, etc. So I really believe that that's a big part of what's happening, is them trying to really cut off this lineage-based thing before it really takes root with any federal legislators. So, but basically that's all I got for that right now.
No, definitely. That's
You
exactly.
know what it also does, though? Biden promised Black people a lot of things during his acceptance speech, his victory speech. One of the things he was talking about is that, he had Black people's back. Like, Black people had my back, I got your back. What this allows him to say is, hey, I fought for student loan forgiveness, and we took it all the way to the Supreme Court. We just lost. And Cori Bush should stand beside him and said, and we're, in the midst of fighting for reparations right now. And he'll throw up a bunch of other things. Roland Martin has all of these things that they do for Black people that never trickles down to us and never changes our lived experience. But all of these symbolic wins, right? And this gives him more cover for Black people that want to defend him. What's that little sassy guy that always comes on Twitter and goes viral, and Camilla and everybody be sharing them? This gives people like them more fire to say, look, they're the push on the Democratic side for reparations. Where's the push on the right? There's a push on the left. There was a push for the George Floyd Justice Act. There was a push, and they'll talk about all of these things that never got passed, but somehow when an Asian salon in Atlanta gets shot up, legislation starts to come fast, and it has a price tag attached with it. So this is just more cover, because Biden approval rates among Black voters is extremely low right now. It's extremely low. I wouldn't be surprised if the Biden administration was behind this, and then somehow they're gearing up for some Juneteenth celebration where Biden is going to be present, and maybe he'll give somebody some type of medal or honor right? Because Biden approval rate among black voters right now is extremely low. We already know how whites feel. Whites vote based on their bottom line. So it don't matter who running on the right. Whites is like, we got to give them a chance because this inflation and everything going on with this country is just too much. Is hurting our bottom line. So Biden is trying to, appeal to the black community without doing anything substantive for us, right? He like nothing he's going to do is substantial right now. But he wants to have this emotional appeal that I've been fighting for you guys. And he just went to Howard. Did any of y'all see his Howard commencement speech where he said the number one issue in America right now is white supremacy? If the number one
Yeah.
issue in America is white supremacy, then why don't you step your sick self down and let a quote unquote, I don't believe this to be true, maybe, maybe not, her daddy never confirmed it, but let a black woman be president, right?
Mm.
That's not the right black woman. I'm just saying it would still all be symbolic, but still, if the number one issue in America is white supremacy, then why is a white man still at the helm? Why is a white man still at the seat of the executive
Come
branch?
on.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's
Especially a white
let's start
supremacist.
changing. A confirmed white supremacist, someone who gave the eulogy at a KKK member funeral, but like everything he's doing right now, these people don't like. Why would he even go to Howard? Presidents usually go to Harvard. They usually go to like Princeton. They usually go to Stanford. This man goes to Howard.
Hey, he
I haven't
spoke
seen
at
a president.
my son's graduation from Delaware State. He gave the speech.
So he's on the chitlin circuit right now.
Nah, this was years ago. This was years
Oh,
ago, man. Yeah.
but yeah, I just so it's just an appeal to get in good grace with black voters, and this is gonna work because all of this stuff he's doing, they're gonna put all of this down on the spreadsheet and give it out to their black talking heads, and you're gonna see the pink and green and the Roland Martins and everybody else come out and say, black people, we just got to give him 4 more years, and this is why he's fighting. He hasn't got it yet. Get the same thing Obama told us, just give me 4 more years, I'm gonna get this stuff done. And that's what it's about. I think Cori Bush is just jumping out there to give Biden and more cover. And this is a way to kind of pledge their allegiance to the Biden administration as well. They already shooting down anybody that comes against. So they Marianne Williamson, and then they got all these jokes and stuff. Janine Pierre, whatever the Haitian lady name is, they just got all this nasty undemocratic stuff to say about the party that's supposed to be fighting for democracy and making sure everything is fair and equal and justice. But anyway, I'm gonna end on that note. But this stuff is supposed to get us back in good grace with the Democratic Party and get our approval rating of Biden up because it's extremely low right now.
Agreed. I agree 100%. I think that's absolutely a part of what's going on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's so weird, right? And I did a tweet about this the other day. I've had more productive reparations conversations, discussions with black conservatives on this app than I've had with Democrats. In fact, if not every conversation that I've had with people on this app that identify as Democrats on this issue of reparations, from Luke to that cornball Steven to the moist dude call me D, to all of these, it has always been a negative
Very, very,
conversation,
very adversarial.
very
Very adversarial
adversarial.
all the time. Yeah.
And it's weird, right? Because Pew Research put out a poll and it showed that 71% of black conservatives agree with direct cash payments for the American freedmen. 68% of black Republicans overall, right? Because you have some conservatives that don't necessarily call themselves Republicans. I've heard it. They say, I'm not a Republican. I'm a conservative, but I'm not a Republican. I've heard that really. I started to hear that a lot over the past several months. And so You would
Yeah, because
think.
they see the play. They see the play, right? They
Hmm.
they know that you're going to try to stick them with this party of Lincoln thing, and so they're trying to get out of that. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? So it's like
Hmm.
let me disconnect from this Republican thing, but I see what they're getting ready to try to do.
And so, just before I'm coming to you, Fairness, and Sister Queen B, every conversation that I've had about reparations, or because the people that I was building with, even when there was disagreements and debates, which at times there were debates, but they were still coming from a place of genuinely wanting to understand it. The party politics is rooted in the agenda of the party, and you're going to hear that agenda and the talking points of the party is going to come through every conversation that you have. I've learned how to navigate around all of that, whether I'm having a conversation with Republicans or with Democrats. But it appears as if when we are having these discussions with Democrats, as Brother Ali used the perfect term, it's always adversarial. It's always the conversation is like we are going to undermine you. The conversation that we had with Luke, the rapper guy, the old rapper dude, the several conversations, they have all devolved into bad conversations, all of them. So we see that the Democratic Party, for the most part, now we know that white Republicans, they don't care about justice, not for us. They raised $2 million for the subway strangler, the guy that choked Jordan Neely to death. So they don't care anything about justice when it comes to us. But dealing with black conservatives and even a few white conservatives, let me not paint with a broad brush. I've actually built with a couple of white conservatives that, for to some degree, I'm not going to say they're full throated, but because we've been able to have these conversations, discussions, and even volleys at times, they eventually come to the understanding, like, you know what? All right, I see what y'all talk about, man. The numbers don't lie. People do. And with that said, we're going to go to Brother
Well,
Fairness.
but wait, real quick before you just to the point. You see the tweet that Marcel put up where he says Fox News reached out to
That's
him
right. That's right.
based on the advertisement that he put up about his dealing with his family history, and they told him, man, you make a compelling argument. It's hard to argue with what you're saying. Hard to argue what you're saying. So I think that you know it, it it's resonating. I think the stronger the arguments get, the more it's going to resonate. On top of the fact that many of these people see this thing as an opportunity to drive a wedge between blacks and Democrats. Ultimately, I think that's a big part of what they're looking to do, is to use it as a tool to kind of drive a further wedge between disgruntled black Democrats and the Democratic Party. But you could go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Brother Fairness. And I agree, Ali.
Yeah, what's going on, y'all? Peace to the room. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna tell you exactly what I see in another space coming up. I see Luke Campbell going to do a space saying, "Hey, you see, Cori Bush to push the reparations, Democrat. So what's going on now? How come y'all don't like this? I mean, he's going to have some kind of way to have a guiding post with this symbolicness of what had just went on. But even with that, man, it's just it's just all symbols. With court, with the H that bill, the resolution HR, it has it's just messed up in language, and it's like it's immature. It's like how are you talking for all the people, the 40 something million of us in this country, about enslaved black people or Africans, and then in 1690, it's like it's all symbolic, and it's meritorious, man, and mission, like somebody set for her to put this thing together and to put it through, but really it has no validity. It does nothing. It's just like you you're trying to be a PhD, but you're in the damn sixth grade.
Well, look, this is what I think. This is what I think the intention is, right on the surface. I don't know, like there's a lot of other things that the brothers have already brought up that I agree with 100%. But I think on the surface, one of the things that they will argue is the same thing that we were attempting to do with our um, um, proclamations that we were pushing to get around the country. And remember, I told you I tried to get one done in New York City, and Mayor Adams refused to do it. Right, but the whole point of it was acknowledgement, and I think a big part of it is getting these people to begin the process of acknowledging, to move on to redress and ultimately closure. Right, and so I think that a part of what they're going to try to argue is that this resolution being pushed through Congress is a way to get Congress to acknowledge what has actually happened in the way that they're saying that it happened. Unfortunately, they're using a lot of bad language and stuff that's not going to be satisfactory to us true reparationists who are really trying to make people understand who the actual heirs and beneficiaries should be in terms of who's being considered. But go ahead, Fidesz.
Yeah, I was going to just last little point. So basically, it's just basically to make HR 40 be the blimp in the sky for everybody to reach for. But oh, man. I mean, I'm just sitting back looking at all this stuff, man. It's sad. I think it's real sad. These people don't come together to really show forth to talk to the right people. And I'm a hamper on this. They know who Be the Power is. They know who American freemen are. They know that. They know who we are. But it's like they steadily want to see that they're the voice for the millions of us. No. I mean, it's so much. It's funny. Like, you got to make this shit funny because it's like you want to be frustrated because it's like, damn, why the hell you out there doing something that has no reference for us as a whole? It's not talking about Reconstruction. It's not talking about what really happened. You're being like you say, a big paintbrush trying to. Let me stop, man, because y'all already know what I'm doing.
No, you're right. You're right on. But you know what it is? A lot of the people don't. We're unique in that we anchored what we were talking about in Reconstruction. Nobody else really did that. Let's just keep it 100. Nobody else did that because they don't really necessarily see it as a point to anchor in, right? That's what this whole freedman thing was about. It was like, look, we're pushing this thing because these are the people at this point in time that the government made specific promises and commitments to. Not because of what race they are, but because they are men who have now come into this particular status as freed people who have been for generations deprived of their rights. This is what they actually said, and this is what they set out to do. This is why you had the Bureau named the way that it was named. You had the bank named the way that it was named. You had particular pieces. Yeah. So that's what this is about. But everybody doesn't see it that way. They think that that stuff is really not important. All we got to do is bring up the issue of slavery and the fact that blacks or Africans were enslaved and white people did us wrong, and that's it.
So then let me just say this last point. So then it's just basically to say, like Cam said back when we had the space, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. We know it's reparations and slavery, but damn, nobody goes to a fucking a dealership to get a car and don't know what their name is, but they want a car. You gotta tell me what is your name, your address, phone number, so I can look you up and then go from there. But I want this car. But what's your name? What? Let me stop, man. Y'all go on.
As long as it's black, it's good enough. We just roll it up. We just roll it up from 1619 to if the check gets cut tomorrow, we roll the history up from 1619 to 2023. That means Sasha Obama, Malia Obama, all Barack Obama. If he got any kids from anybody else, like everybody gets rolled up into the claim. It don't matter when you got here, as long as you was here before the cutoff deadline, get part of the claim, you know. So yeah, that black is black, and we're gonna use this to end racism and white supremacy all at once. And I guess it's gonna end as soon as they cut a check.
Yep. Yep.
And
That's the way they're
last
trying to
point,
frame it.
scrutiny is waiting. They are waiting to pierce that. Let me
That's
get
right.
off, man. Let me get off.
All right, definitely. Sister Queen B, let's hear from our sister. What you think about this resolution and this discussion in general?
Shoot, where to start? I do have a couple of things that I want to say. And thank you, Naheem and Ali and Ibrahim, excuse me, for allowing me to come up and speak today. And so, it's just whenever I see anything coming out of any of these people's mouths, or anything that they tweet about reparations, I automatically know it's a trick bag, that it's somebody said the word valid. I already know it's invalid. I already know it's a trick. I already know they do these tricks because it's about getting us to go out there and vote. So when I look at what Cori Bush is doing, and she had Barbara Lee along with her, I knew something was up because a couple of weeks ago, Barbara Lee was at that California task force meeting. She got up there and she said a few words. Well, Barbara Lee, it's no secret, Barbara Lee wants to replace Feinstein. If Feinstein should happen to resign early or retire, whatever, she wants that job. So I already know that's the motivation behind that. She's never said a thing about this, at least that I know of. Never showed any sort of care or concern about us getting our reparations. But what was very telling for me, and Naheem, I think you were there in South Carolina a few weeks ago. I had a mic up against Clyburn, and Clyburn said no. Clyburn said it's not going to happen. He said, this is not what you guys think reparations about money and it's about repair. Well, it ain't going to happen or whatever. And so I kind of take my lead from what comes out of that man's mouth, especially since they call him the most powerful, black congressional person or whatever. So the fact that he and Cori Bush, that is, and Barbara Lee aren't on the same page, that's why I said, to me, it's just a big trick bag. And the fact that they continue to keep getting this language wrong, how many times do we have to tell them that this is for the descendants, from chattel slavery? You know what I'm saying? The freedmen, the descendants of freedmen. How many times do we have to tell them that this is what the language needs to be? So this kind of reminded me of those tricks that I think it was Nina Turner. She'd come out there and she'd say that she was for reparations, but she would never get the language right. No matter how much we would go back to her and we would tell her, this is who the recipients are. This is who the reparations for. And they just refuse to listen and get it right. They're never in any of our spaces. I mean, I think you guys would have said something, the true reparationists, if they were actually contacting you behind the scenes, if they really wanted to do this right. So I don't believe anything that come out of these people's mouths. I know, I think once before I had learned that Cori Bush, I think her father was a politician in the St. Louis area and that he was Jamaican or Caribbean or whatever. So I just tend to not believe anything that comes out of these people's mouths. When this came out the other day, and the national news got a hold of it, and Fox loved to put on Bob Woodson. Here he come the very next morning. Here they come bringing him on there, talking about we don't know who the descendants are. Black people enslaved black people. They get into this whole thing, and it's kind of interesting that they all work together. They know they don't want us to have it. They work together. Behind the scenes, they're collaborating together to make sure that this does not happen, and that they use the language that that they want to use to discourage us. And you know what, and instead of saying anti-black, I'm gonna just start saying anti-freedmen. That's to me what it's all about. It's anti-freedmen. This anti-black doesn't reach it for me. This is against the freedmen. So anyway, I'll land, and thank you.
Definitely.
You
Absolutely.
Wait,
you
hold
brought
on,
up a
Ibrahim.
good point. Yeah.
Well, no, okay, go ahead, bro.
You brought up a good point that Clyburn said no, and now Cori Bush, Barbara Lee, and a few other Congress people are saying yes. Do you think maybe their strategy is we'll just say yes and we'll act like we're doing something just to get Biden in the office, and then we'll go back to no? Because I think maybe Clyburn might have jumped out ahead of himself, not understanding the totality of what's going on. Do you
Hot
think
mic.
it's
I, are you asking me?
yes?
Um, I Yeah, I think he probably jumped out. But then, like I said, he tends to be, as much as I don't like him, but when people seem to get him off, in these one-off situations, he seems to speak his mind. What were those things that he said to somebody had that mic in front of him? I think it was at his fish fry or whatever, and he's like, "Why y'all keep effing with me?" Whatever. So, and when he gets annoyed, he seems to say whatever's on his mind. And like I said, with him having
Hot
the
mic.
power that he has, like I said, why wasn't he out there with them? I would think if this was our black leaders or our black representatives, they would be on the same page with all of this, and they're not. So I believe the motivation is to get us out to vote, and they're going to rely on maybe people who aren't in the reparationist spaces, or like somebody said, Luke Campbell or whatever. They're going to rely on that group of maybe majority Democrat voters to continue voting. But I did want to say, I left this out before, but I heard this morning that Biden's strategy is to go after the Latino vote. This for 2024 was to go after the Latino vote. I didn't
That
see
was his
anything
strategy.
there. Yeah, I
Hey,
didn't see
sis,
anything about going after black vote. It
that
was
was
just
his
Latino
strategy.
vote.
Look, that was his strategy on the initial run. Remember, they asked the question on the debate stage. Buttigieg, I said his name right. I always mess up and say booty eggs for whatever reason. But Buttigieg actually got it right. What Buttigieg said was right and exact, right? And it shocked me because I didn't expect that answer. But then it said Biden, same question. Biden said, look, America handpicks the best immigrants. This was his response to the reparations question. America handpicks the best immigrants from across this country. His policy opens the borders up basically to allow 20 to 30,000 immigrants in a month for the first 2 years of his administration. But that's another conversation. He said, we handpicked the best immigrants from around the world to come over here to America. And then he started speaking about the Hispanics are the future of this country. This was what he said on the debate stage. Like, I can't even call this a pivot. This wasn't a pivot. He threw the whole conversation away to let it be known that we would be stupid. I believe those were his words. Stupid to
He
ignore
said
the
he said if
Hispanic.
black people want something, y'all gonna have to go to them. Y'all gonna have to
That's
get
right.
behind them.
That's right. This is what he said. And this again, family, I want to put this statistic out there. And Roy Beck highlights this in his book, Back of the Higher Line, where he speaks about how Hispanic all of a sudden became one race. And so minority is used in the same way, and this is my opinion. Minority is used in the same way inferiority is used. And so when you have minority, and we are the face of minority because we are supposedly only 14% of the population, this is a part of what we call European psychology. Because when you break each of us down by our own ethnic group, the American freedmen is the second largest ethnic group after German Americans. And Brother Ali disputes that. He believes that there's some double dipping with white folks that also claim to be German American, and so they're kind of just adding that in with German, with German Americans, excuse me.
Yeah,
But
my position is I believe that our group who are known right now as African Americans, or who we call American freedmen, are actually the largest ethnic group, the largest single ethnic group in the United States. That's what I believe.
the third largest ethnic group are Mexican Americans, and then the list descends, right? So this idea that we are just this minority is not true. And this is why we are doing what we're doing with the OMB. We're not just trying to add American freedmen as the ethnic designation to identify our specific group. We are trying to remove the term race altogether. The term race in its original inception was to differentiate between species, right? So it was the human race, the canine race, the feline race, right? The certain flowers were broken down by race, and then it was genus up underneath that. I could be saying some of those terms wrong. It's been a while since I looked at a lot of this stuff, but that racial part is a fact, that we were only viewed by race as humans, and there were divisions of humans in this particular race that you could differentiate by different skin tones and phenotypes, et cetera, et cetera. So we want race replaced with the term population group. This starts to kill off the racial superiority aspect that was designed by people like Buffon and Blumenbach and the racist Germans of the 1800s. And we gotta get that stuff up out of here. But anyway, I just wanted to add that. Our sister is up next, Sister Antonia, aka Stilettos on the ground. And this Sister Stilettos is on the ground. She's out in Boston putting in that work. Go ahead, sis.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Peace to the entire reparations group. So, just a few things. Cori Bush has been selling this narrative that her father was a sharecropper. Oh, well, with me, contribute to my campaign. And this has been going on for like 2 years. I get the email from her. So I'm kind of really disappointed that she wouldn't even add the American freedmen verbiage into this bill. Secondly, I want to say that the Pan-African ideology comes back from, Marcus Garvey, like you said, which was BS. He had never been to Africa, so I don't know why he was trying to convince us to go to Africa. But also, it's hitting home with our people in our community because it's the Black Power of the 70s. So people are feeling warm and fuzzy, like, oh, we're finally getting saying some kind of retribution. So I'm in a community every single day. I'm talking to people every single day, and our people are drinking the Kool-Aid. These people, the Pan-African whole ideology has our people brainwashed. I'm talking like your neighbor you could have grown up with, black is black, and saying American freedmen is now Pan-African. And you have to be very careful about who you're talking to, who you're dealing with, because you can get got. I have been sitting in meetings and rooms with people who swear to God, saying they're not Pan-African, and then all of a sudden you listen to the verbiage and they're spitting, the diaspora, or they're saying certain keywords, reparation, whatever, and repatriation, I'm sorry. And it's really ironic how they sit on the fence. They're very good at playing both sides, and it's a real big cosplay thing going on here. So I, lean to the scholars and like BBP, and I lean to Mr. Arthur to decipher this up. It is a whole game out here, and if your head is not right, and if you don't have that strong sense of personality, you sink. I mean, literally sink. I mean, I have, and I'm going to admit to you guys, I've written bills and proposals with people who have now flipped it to Pan-Africanism. It had black enslaved African slaves, and I'm like, we can't put that in there. We need American freedmen. Wrote the proposal, submitted it. I'm now seeing that it's something totally different. They're talking about Ubuntu, their culture from another country. They're talking about Turtle Island. They're talking about indigenous. They are really good at using us and using our intellectual property to flip it to suit their needs. And it's not just at the higher level, and it's not just politicians. See, Narcan and Cobra are all scholars. They are now just getting into the ground game where they have people that are indoctrinated with their little conventions and giving people awards and making them feel warm and fuzzy. I know 2 people personally who have drank the Kool-Aid, and they always gave me an award. See, Antonia, they're not that bad. I'm like, tell them about American freedmen. As soon as they mention American freedmen, they drop them like hotcakes. So they really want to control our narrative because they want to make money. They don't care about reparations. They don't care if we ever get reparations. They're making money now. Every single one of these Pan-African groups have 501(c)(3)s, and they're making money. I sit on Zoom calls. I've been in meetings with the audience is all white or 90% white. They're like, please donate to our cause. If you're anti-racism or you're against anti-black, you'll send money today. It's like Reverend Ike. I swear to God, they have these white people believing that they are the spokespeople for all black people. I was just on a meeting on Tuesday. Sent the information out to me. I couldn't believe how many white old people were in that meeting. And they were actually giving the presentation about our heritage because they're convinced, these people, that they're better speaking our lineage and our history than we are. And guess what? The Pan-African group that was sitting there is getting donations from them to speak on our behalf. And then when I spoke up about American freedmen, because I wasn't going to sit there and allow that to happen, it was like, oh, yes, Anthony is right. Yes, the freedmen, the Americans, they don't even know what they're talking about. They have no clue about the historical context of American freedmen, and they only say it when they get busted. So I'm saying to you guys, yes, we have a problem at the top, but we have even a bigger problem on the ground. Our people in our community do not know our heritage, do not know our lineage, and they're walking around with anybody who's going to offer them a check or convince them that they're going to get a check, and it's like they're being had. And we can't be that desperate to the point that anybody can just walk up to us and say, sign this petition or do this or come to this meeting because we're being led to believe that we're going to get a check.
It's like that, though, sis. That's what it
is,
is, man.
It's
people
bad.
are getting bought and paid for, man, because people need bread. This is the dire of many of our family members. This is the dire circumstances that we're dealing with, that people get so desperate that they're willing to do just about anything for money. And so you got people, let me tell you, you're going to have organizations who are going to be reaching out to quote unquote reparationists to pay them to not be reparations, to pay them to change their tunes and to say other things. Yeah,
they said they did it to me. They did it to me. They just did this to me. They are paying them to flip my verbiage. Me and my partners wrote this proposal. I swear to God, I can show you the receipts. They flipped the verbiage behind our back, changed their name of their organization. Now it's Ubuntu something another. They're talking about Pan-African, shit. And then they invite me to the meeting. I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, hold up. I didn't agree to this. Who's this? I don't even know these people. Oh, this is our organization. This is what we believe in. They're doing it blatantly in our face, and we have to wake up. I'm only here to tell you what I've experienced, and I don't have a problem saying when something went wrong or when something doesn't, or I made a mistake or whatever. And I'm just saying we have got to wake up. We have got to.
One lesson that was learned by Paper Panthers from the Black Panther Party is that you can talk radical and white people will still support you. And groups like Cobra and NARC, they went in on the front end, and if anything comes down the pipeline with reparations, if they have any say-so on it, they're going to win on the back end too. That's why they have all that weird, conspicuous language about payments should go to like these elder organizations of Black America that will find ways to invest and redistribute the money. So yeah, you exactly right.
And it's a shame. No, go ahead.
Going on here. And even like now, every time we do something, they snatch and they bite our side. Like a good example, somebody asked me, Antonia, you're with the Freedmen. I see the Freedmen Bureau organization in California. I'm like, we don't know anything about that. You can't have a Freedmen Bureau at a local level. It has to be a federal established entity. So anybody who calls themselves a Federal Bureau of Freedmen is bogus. But guess what? That's knocking in Cobra. And they have people believing now that California is saying the Office of Freedmen Affairs that there's a bureau in California. That's how sneaky these people are. You won't believe the stuff that I've uncovered. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a conspiracy. It's facts. They will do anything they can to control the narrative. And it's not to get us reparations. It's to get the bag. That's why they want HR 40. They want $250,000 just to sit on a commission. They don't care if we get reparations. They want to get the money in the meantime.
That's a fact. That and we've exposed that on the BTP channel years ago. OG Arthur Ward, who's in the building, Sister Roz, they did a series of Twitter spaces about 2 years ago, I believe it was, about a year, some change ago, maybe. They exposed the same exact thing. They went in even deeper than we went in on our live stream, and we're watching people that come into this space and they are bitter shit starters. And when it gets turned back around on them, when they run into these immovable objects, then all of a sudden they turn and try to go be with the enemies, which means that they were enemies all along. And that's what I said last night on my live stream. I'm not interested, like outside of the people that I build with and we at BTP build with and that we know are putting in work and doing work. I'm not with this whole unity thing with people in this space. The thing that me personally, speaking for me personally, I'm trying to simply build support on the ground from here on out, because there are people that's coming on Twitter with a nefarious purpose. They are dealing with nefarious individuals. And this reparations movement is starting to be undermined by, a lot of people that we thought were in this thing for reparative justice, and we see that they're not. People starting to get money from these other people, and I'm not. Some people may think certain things is shots at certain other people. It's not shots. I'm talking about certain stuff that I know for a fact, and sometimes that may be conflated with what other people are doing. But when Sister Antonia just came up and laid it out, she's seeing it go on in Boston with the reparations commission that they're putting together, which I gave a testimony, I believe 1 or 2 testimonies for. I think it was 1 testimony, and we had like a private session with some officials. Sister Antonia could correct me on that one if I'm wrong.
Boston and Connecticut I handle. You did Connecticut and then Boston too. Yep, you did both. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and it's like anybody that's not getting behind that because they have this agenda to whereas they feel we're going to tear stuff down just because BTP is involved in it. It just shows that these people are not serious and they should be nowhere near what we're trying to do politically. That's why they can't come near me. They can't come near me at all. So you have to fight that. You have to fight the Black Democrats that are doing this, the Jam Iwuyars and Nkechi Taifas and the Narcan and Cobras and the Roland Martins and the Greg Carrs and the Luke the Rapper and his minions like Stephen the Lame and all of these different people that we see floating on Twitter. Then you got to fight the white supremacists. They're going viral dissing reparations. You see what I'm saying? So it becomes this fight where you are being basically closed in on from every side, and certain people that you thought was like stand up in this space that you may have promoted or even honored, they've taken a position of falling back because they don't want to fight really. They kind of want to go along with certain things just so long as they could get snuck up in there. And in my opinion, they're no different than the people that's taking money in Boston from Narcan and Cobra and the Pan-African movement and trying to switch up the language that's being presented. But we will be, we're already in contact, Sister Antonia, so we're going to be in there, make sure that thing goes right. So I want to go to my brother Devon from Brooklyn. He's been waiting for a minute. Go ahead, brother Devon.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Yeah, I just got off the Iron Horse, so I'm like, shit. I was trying to get to a quiet spot, but this will do for right now. I try not to be long. Shout out to the space, shout out to everybody. But I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Queen was talking about when she came up, and like at least we're here in New York, and I definitely got to put a space on regarding this Cori Bush resolution and the implications of it and how it's affecting New York, the New York reparations situation that's happening right now, because it is affecting it, and I believe it's in conjunction based on what's coming out right now. But the bottom line is this: they are very well aware of the language on how to get it right. So let's not. I want that to not be confused, right? There is no like, okay, they're just working it out, or maybe they don't know, or they have the best intentions and they're just unaware. They are very much so aware. They're paying very close attention. And here in New York, I can speak for it as a fact, because we were slated when we did the workshop in Albany for all the politicians. We were slated to go head to head with the Pan Africanists, with Jam, whoever they wanted to bring. They could have tagged anybody they wanted in. And we were slated to go head to head in a workshop for the benefit of the people and for the politicians to see which bill and which concept to go with, race-based or lineage-based. And they opted out of it. But not only did they opt out of it, the Pan-Africanists inside the legislators and those on the outside tried to get the entire workshop thrown out. So it wasn't like they said, okay, we're not going to come, or we don't want to go head to head. It was like, no, let's scrap the whole thing because we don't want to come, we don't want to do it. And when the other legislators that was in charge of the caucus, we can said, no, we need to have a reparations workshop. So if you don't want to come, you just don't come. But we're going to do it, but this is your opportunity to present your bill. They still opted out of it. They didn't show, and we got the whole time. It was supposed to be split half and half. So what they did was they helped us because they was too scared to face us, and we got a chance to educate the people and promote this freedom message alongside lineage-based reparations, and laid a whole claim out and laid a whole plan out. And there was still planted ops in the room. There were people from Narcan and Cobra in the room. There were other Pan-Africanists in the room, you know, that were asking bad-faced questions and things of that nature. So they are very well aware of it. In fact, outside of just what's going on in New York, on one of those Zoom calls, there's a brother, his name is Jeffrey Robinson. He is a Harvard Law graduate. And it was on one of the calls that, you know, Jam and them did when they were trying to combat what we were doing at the OMB. And on the, I can't remember exactly which one, I'm trying to look it up, but either way, hold on one second, I hear the train coming. Let me get out of here so that you don't hear too much of that. But the bottom line is this: on the Zoom, they're discussing lineage-based and race-based. And the brother Jeffrey says, I understand that race-based policies are unconstitutional. And I'm paraphrasing him saying like, well, but that's not fair. What we should do, instead of saying we're not going to do race-based policy, we should find a way to change the constitutional law so that we can do race-based policy. And when you think of
Whoa.
right, and this is a receipt, like this is something that I can't wait to get it so I can post it, because they understand that it's unconstitutional. But their solutions, because they're so hell-bent on staying stuck in their ideology, is to try to do the impossible. It's to try to do everything else but just say, you know what, we're going to do lineage-based. Because it goes against their ideology, it goes against everything that they stand for and everything that they've been pushing this for so long. And it's my estimation, it's my opinion, that they do not want, just like everybody else, they do not want reparations, because they understand that race-based will not pass. Because they're all educated, they're all Boule, they all understand this thing. So I believe what they want to do is they want to get something that they know won't pass and create a political grandstanding moment for them to say, look, y'all, we're fighting for you. It's them, it's the government, it's everybody else against us. This is why y'all need to join up with us, continue funding us, and let's do repatriation instead of trying to get justice here in the country, because that is in line with everything that they're promoting.
Powerful. That was powerful.
Yo,
it's
that
so
iron
funny
horse,
though.
that's that iron horse shit.
I was just
You know what I mean?
That's right. That brother Devon always say, I'm about to pull my iron horse into the station. Look, real quick, Ali, when I heard the train coming, I thought about that Nas track off the last album, Thun, where he was like, I ain't been on a train in decades and I can still hear the wheels on the tracks. Yeah, go ahead, bro.
Yo, you never forget that sound, man.
That's a
That's
fact.
that shit.
That's a fact.
Yo, Devon, that's crazy what you saying though, man. Like, wow. So this is a part of a grand. This is the way you present it. It's a part of a grand scheme to really introduce this concept of repatriation back to Africa, because ultimately we ain't gonna never really be able to get shit out of this country.
That's crazy. So you all are listening, right? And I know that we have people from the right in this room. Our room usually has a mix, a good mix, especially since we've been building with a lot of people from the right. And I mean, those that are on the right who are for reparations, and we know because we've built with some of them, right? And some of them they're not. They'll tell you, I'm not pushing for reparations. They'll let you know, but we know the ones that are actively saying, well, I'm 100% for reparations. You see this conundrum that we're in. There's no need. I'm gonna bring it up because I'm gonna bring it up. I'll bring it up. I said I wasn't gonna speak on this after the convention in South Carolina. Marcel walked up. It was the convention wasn't over. The voting part for who was going to be the party chair was over, and Clyburn tapped this woman named Swain, and I believe that's the reason why she won, because of his endorsement. I was up there to support Brother Brandon Upson, because what I seen from the brother so far was, he had, he got his little political cookie cutter Democratic stuff with him, right? But the stuff that he was saying and that he was for was completely different than what the established Democratic Party was for, especially on the topic of reparations. Sister Queen B brought up the fact that Clyburn, I was there. As a matter of fact, I was sitting there talking to Marcel. Marcel said, man, I just got a tweet that somebody just pissed Clyburn off about reparations. And then we caught up with the brother, and I have that recording on my channel where Clyburn, the dude, he said it. Clyburn, and the video eventually came out, and the brother said, Clyburn said that he's he basically doesn't support reparations. Because reparations doesn't mean what we think it means. It only means repair, not cash, which means that what the Japanese Americans got in 1989, then it wasn't cash, or then it wasn't reparations. It can't be both. And so Brother Marcel said, so Naheem, what do you think? But what's your thoughts, your ideas? I said, bro, let me tell you what I think. Knowing how the Republican Party is and what I just witnessed here today, I'm going back to a thought, and I'm not pushing this thought because I believe that we need to take over a party, right? But I said my logical mind can only conjure up one conclusion, and that is we need a third party. Now, again, I'm not pushing now. I used to say that a lot. And I just believe that reparationists need to take over a party. And I say preferably we need to take over the party that we began our political lives with in this country, which is the Republican Party. And let the racists go back into the Democratic Party where they belong. Problem solved. But that was what I said after watching that whole spectacle. I watched the spectacle of politics at that South Carolina convention the night before. I watched Clyburn at the fish fry. Sister Nicola, she's schooling me to everything that's going on. She's pointing the people out. And I seen a bunch of young dudes walking through, like little hood dudes. I'm like, they about to go get it popping or something? What's good? Because I know that walk, because I used to walk, but they wasn't. They was just little young dudes from the hood that was just moving around. And Sister Nicola, she seen me looking at them, and she was like, oh, they with Brother Brandon. I was like, they are? She was like, yeah, look at his shirt. She said, the hood is with Brandon. And I peeped that the next day at the convention. But At that fish fry the night before, I was able to see how powerful Clyburn is. Me and Marcel, we got a disagreement about Clyburn being powerful. Marcel, yeah, I don't know if you listening, Marcel, but I seen your little tweets. I seen your tweets. I ain't say nothing. I just kept it moving. We'll have that discussion. But yeah, man, that dude is powerful. And Sister Queen B pointed out an obvious fact that he's the head Black Democrat, which means that you look at the headline of this space, is this a Democratic Party stunt that was pulled by Cori Bush? Because if the head Black Democrat is saying no to reparations, if Biden is saying no to reparations, are you telling me that we're going to have a squad moment and Cori Bush is going to do something different? And no, it's not going to happen because they're not going to push it. This is a political stunt, and we have to call it for what it is. And we have to start stepping up politically. We have to start, again, becoming political organizers, political operatives, or political candidates. We have to study these things in depth. And we're planning some things on our side based on those three elements. And I'm not going to get too deep into that. Sister Stilettos, you got your hand raised. You had something else you wanted to share?
Yes, I wanted to also add that the Pan-Africans, which are mostly the Black scholars that have caught on to the ideology, and also Black immigrants, and especially those from the whole diaspora from Africa, Caribbean on the way over, they have now indoctrinated Afro-Latinas. I went to a symposium last month. It's called The Great Migration. I think I sent you guys the information. I can send it if you need it. So Boston Indicators did a survey. They're trying to convince us that Afro-Latinas are more despaired than Black American freedmen, and that we have to team up with them and stick with them. No, I can put it in the Jumbotron or whatever. They're trying to tell us and convince us, and these are Black politicians that I grew up with. They're just as country as my grandmother, whatever, are trying to convince us that we have to stick with them for the numbers and the money. So this is like a concerted effort around the world to just squash us. And so we're really sleeping and breathing the enemies out here. And so for them to say that the Afro-Latinas, now let me give you a good indication. Afro-Latinas in Boston will be Cape Verdeans. Cape Verdeans are mostly migrated in the Northeast. And they're from the Isle of Cape Verde. They were Africans. They were enslaved by Portugal and brought over here. They don't even think they're Black. They will cuss you out and kill you if you call them Black. They now want to be Afro-Latina. So all the Afro-Latina coalition communities, whatever, now want to be Black because they want reparations. And the Pan-Africans are backing them. The person who put on this symposium is Lee Felton from the Boston Foundation, who's Jamaican, who doesn't believe in reparations, and has clearly said we need to stop talking about slavery and move forward. They want to talk about anything after 1965, preferably 1971 with the war on drugs. This is all documented.
That's
and
crazy.
It's sad.
That is
and
crazy.
It's all. I'll drop the thing in the chat for you guys to see. It's just ridiculous what's going on out here. So Knockin' and Cobra and the Pan Africans are teaming up with anybody who can basically sabotage our efforts.
These people are our enemies, family. These are our enemies. They have cloaked themselves in our movement with the purpose of undermining it, so that you got to remember, IBW 21, and Arthur Ward is here, he could correct me if I'm wrong on this. They received $3 million from the MacArthur Foundation. I don't know if this is an annual allotment or what, but they split it between IBW 21 splits. I believe it's the fiscal agent. IBW 21 is the fiscal agent for NARC and Cobra. And they split the $3 million, $1.5 million for NARC, $1.5 million for Cobra. This is why they have money to travel around the state. This is why they have money to go around the world. It's like, what are you doing in Africa talking about reparations for American freedmen? It doesn't make no sense, right? So what are you there for? That money should be used for the very purposes of Let me see. That money should be used for the very purposes of spreading the message of reparations in the United States of America. But because these people have taken themselves as enemies to the grassroots reparationists, then we see that their push cannot lead to anything that is going to be beneficial for us. I mean, we've just laid it out. Read Cori Bush's bill that you can't create race-based legislation. So you create this proposal, which is not the same as a bill, right? I conflated that last night during the live stream as the live stream went along. And out of these proposals, however, committees can be formed, et cetera, et cetera. And then what would come out of these committees? Pushes for race-based legislation, because the proposal becomes your mandate. I mean, we gotta, like, if we, I see these people that claim that they're reparationist organizations, and I look at their board, and I see white people on their board, I see Haitians on their board, Jamaicans on their board. I'm like, well, what's going on? We're witnessing Narcan and Cobra all over again in different forms. Right in the space where people are supposed to be these foundations and organizations that are fighting for reparations. And I say that to say that this fight for us is so multifaceted that we have to get through all of, it's like the karate flick, right? You got to fight all of the underlings that the big boss guy sends at you first. Now, the big boss guy is nice. He could match you in the fight, but you got to fight 20 other people before you actually get to the big boss guy. And you be watching these movies and your realistic mind kicks in. It's like, you done fought 20 dudes. You done beat up 20 dudes. And for those of you that fight and have real fights, the first 3-4 minutes of a fight, man, if you're not in fighting shape, you're going to be worn out. And even if you're in fighting shape, you just fought 20 guys. Now you're about to fight this guy that's fresh, just standing here, and you got to kick his ass also. And this is how it is with us. We have to fight with all of these like underlings and all of these anti-reparationists with the same skin tone as us, the pretend reparationists, the grifters that's acting like they're for reparationists. And I asked the question, why are we, those of us that feel that we're on the same page, not moving in unison, not moving as a closed fist so that we could strike back at these people, so that we could start promoting our own politicians, raising them up in our locale? Like, we could be coming up with the game plan to counter this stuff. We have a 501c3 already established, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen. Now, I'm not saying that you have to join our organization, but if we set up a chapter in your state that you run, you basically have autonomy outside of the rules and the code of conduct of the organization. That's your thing right there. We got to build, family. We have to build, or else what are we fighting for? What are we fighting for? We got to talk about that now. These people you heard what Sister Antonia just said. These people are taking over this reparations fight. They are drowning us out. They see the dysfunction. They see it. It's obvious. It's clear. FBA versus ADOS. And they dissing the term American freedmen. It's a circular firing squad. This is a perfect time for me, Jam Iwu Yard, to slither on my belly and crawl up into the space and cause all types of disruptions. Look at what they did with the OMB. They got, I'm not mistaken, 2 separate extensions. The Urban League, and then they tapped, the Pan-Africanists tapped their friends in the Congress to get another extension. I don't know why it say mute. Everybody's on mute. I didn't mean. I probably hit that by mistake. My bad. My bad. But yeah. So Ian, you're up. All right, I see you, Ali.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm really upset when I saw the commercial. When I seen the guy, the one guy who claimed, because I remember back in the day when we was doing ADOS, that one guy who claimed he got hit, that he was attacked and shit at the what it was at?
Yep.
Yeah,
Mark Thompson.
yeah,
Mark
yeah.
Thompson.
When I seen that guy up in there, man, I said, I need to, I want to hit that nigga in the face, man. Damn.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I remember that.
Shit. Like they got him up in there. Yo, you know that this is an agenda. If they got him, you know that.
And not just him, brother Ian. Hold on one second. They got Ray Winbush as well. We had Ray Winbush in a Twitter space. Sister Ross did a space, and this guy came through, and he just started being disrespectful towards Sister Ross. Oh, I was trying to get on that stage so bad. I don't think Ross seen my head because I was going. Forget the conversation now. Who the fuck you think you are, my guy? Like that's where I was going to go with it. You got this shit twisted,
Man.
straight up.
But you know,
go ahead, bro.
But you know, at the end of the day, you know, they're going all the way to the Moorish playbook because they're saying things because you know I've been, you know, for about 5 or so years or more, you know, you've had you know, the DR folks and whatever talking about they're the indigenous, you know, to America, you know, and so they quietly behind the scenes are pushing a lot of this because they feel that they're the only ones really deserving of reparations. You know, I mean, really flat out, they don't think that we deserve reparations and that we should not exist. That is, I mean, that's really how we should approach this. They don't think that we should exist. We were a fluke, and we came by night, and we're supposed to leave by night and not be seen or heard. That's essentially really, you know, how they're really coming at us for real. If we're really going to be 100.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, this whole thing is proving to be crazy, right? It's if anybody watched the series The Game of Thrones, we are kind of in that space right now. Like we're in that space. This is a Game of Thrones, and we're all fighting for that Iron Throne. We're fighting to get there. To some degree, we all are. But because we know, right, we push for the Black South or the Back South strategy, a freedman South, for our people to come back to the southern states so that we could have political singularity as opposed to the political plurality that we've had since, I mean, they started running our people out of these states during the times of Reconstruction with the purpose of thinning out our voting power. Like this was a plan. I can read it to you all. I can read what the Mississippi plan was. I forget the exact name of it, but it was like something like the Mississippi plan, where they said we won't be ruled by no Negroes, and we are going to preserve white power. This is what the white supremacists said in Mississippi. Like I said, I can read it. I can read it. So in that, we can start, like, now we take the fight for reparations in our own hands because we have our own senators. We have our own House, and now you can't ignore it. Narcan and Cobra become irrelevant if we have the political power. They really do, because what happens if Cori Bush submits a proposal? Say, oh, is she submitting okay, well, we're going to submit a proposal now. And not only that, we're going to have our two senators that are freedmen conscious, that are reparationists, co-signing. They're going to stand out there with us when we do our press conference. And it's going to be red, white, and blue. not red, black, and green, or red, green, and yellow, the Pan-Africanist colors. It's not going to be any of that, because that has no place in what we're doing. That form of symbolism, that Pan-African stuff, has no place in American politics. Pan-Africanism is an idea. It is not a tangible thing. And this is their attempt to make it a tangible thing, just so they could say, so I can't even remember who said it earlier. Hey, we fighting for y'all. We're fighting for y'all. Look, but they keep rejecting us. Now we are rejecting you. And so when they do something, we have to be the ones that make sure we step up and put the lawsuits in first. I'm talking too much on that.
I wanted to say, when we're talking about Pan-Africanism, a lot of people don't know one of the biggest players in Pan-Africanism was Anna J. Cooper, and she was around the year 1900, when she was prominent. So people think Marcus Garvey was the first Pan-Africanist. No, Anna J. Cooper, they say that she's the mother of Pan-Africanism, actually. And so essentially, and to some degree, and this is why I focus a lot on the gender issue, because gender has always been a way to uproot the whole community, to focus on just one gender instead of the family. And essentially what they want to do, they're essentially saying, hey, Black women are the Black community. And as long as we continue to give them and to empower them, you guys don't deserve reparations. As long as we are empowering the black woman in your community, you don't need any reparations or anything else. But essentially what happens though, once you present that as the model, in terms of this trickle down effect, then you have other women of other from the diaspora able to come under the umbrella of Black women. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's no real delineation when they say Black empowering Black. There's no delineation. So these other women can come in from these other groups, and you have to know, just like the white man, he's sending his white woman under having his white woman sitting under this minority designation, right? Just so that the money can be funneled back to him. But essentially, this is the same thing that every minority group is doing. They're sending their Black women over to America to get these benefits through this gender this gender pot of gold, and right, and they're funneling it back to their men of their respective culture. So essentially, this has been the play. Is Pan-Africanism essentially means the Black woman, but they really are trying to uproot it to push in Black women from the diaspora, and then that's how they're going to end up pushing us out. And so we can't really push up against that, because they can say, "Oh, you're against Black women." No, I'm not against Black women. I'm against you. Distribution.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, my phone rang. I'm trying to, as I'm not against Black women, I'm against the economic model where you're trying to distribute through this spurious term Black woman, where it actually allows everyone from outside of the diaspora to also be a Black woman. Because a lot of the times, you have Black women from the diaspora are the divestors. They're the ones who are
Come on
talking
now.
down to
Come on.
on Black men and all this. They're the ones doing this. They are the number one feminists in America. The number
Brother,
one
they are
feminists.
poison.
Yes.
They are poison. I swear to God, them people are poison. And I've been saying this. Naheem and them sometimes be debating me on it, but I'm like, no, man. I see clear
well,
as day.
that was 2 years ago. Not now.
I see
It's
clear
clear
as
now.
day, bro. What the heck is going on? I always bring up this clubhouse room that myself and Ibrahim was in, and was full of quote unquote Black women. And all of these quote unquote Black women were from somewhere else. And if you could hear the venom, the vitriol and the venom that they had for quote unquote Black men. See, I say quote unquote Black men because really these women are talking about their own men. So when you hear these Nigerian women or Jamaican women or whatever they are talking crazy about black men, they talking about Nigerian and Jamaican men, but it's under the guise of black men. They really hate each other and they hate themselves, and they're bringing that poison into our communities and putting it into our conversations and shit. That's why I said it's poison.
Indeed, indeed. Ian, did you have anything else you want to share?
Yeah, and like I said, I think that we need to be aware of who is who, in terms of that, because a lot of the monies that's going out is going out to these other groups through these kind of feminist type of economic models. But again, it's not really going to black. You see the black women out here; they're struggling just as much as we are. So who is really benefiting? But I see, in the black community, I see most of the time when the black women who are doing the best are black women from other ethnic groups. I mean, it's just how it is. But unfortunately, what happens is that women, as there are women, they have to follow suit because that's where the money lies.
Indeed, indeed, powerful. I mean, that's a powerful perspective, and it got kind of gives us another angle at how we look at this thing. Ali has been calling it for the. I was the one that was debating with him on it like 2 years ago, and I mean, it's clear as day now. It's clear as day. So we had somebody else on the stage, Monty. I was wanting to see what he had to say. Who had their hand up first? I think it was Stilettos, then Devon, and then we'll go back to Fairness.
I was just going to give a quick shout out, but then I listened to what Ian said. I don't think it's necessarily just as much as black women as us as a whole. We're always embracing other cultures. We let them call us people of color. We let them call us African Americans. So we always warm and fuzzy with other races, and we embrace them. But we have no friends. Nobody's our friend. Nobody's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves. And you don't see anybody standing in line to fight our fight for us. As a matter of fact, everybody's standing in line to benefit from us. So when other groups of people come over and they benefit, it's because we've allowed them to. Because we let them call us people of color. We let them call us minorities. We let them call us African Americans. We don't stick to our lineage. But I just wanted to end here and just give a huge shout out to OG Arthur Ward and also BDP. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't even know how to play this game on a street level. I'm both book smart and street smart, but this is at a whole other level. And I just want to thank him, especially Arthur Ward, for being an OG with the knowledge to help me be able to decipher, the BS with Knockin' and Cobra, because it's a whole other level of a game. And I just want to say thank you.
Honest to you, sis. And keep putting that work in. We got your back. We got your back. We gonna make sure what's happening in Boston doesn't get derailed, and that's why we're trying to grow. We're just trying to grow the organization because we need more boots and stilettos on the ground in these places where Narcan and Cobra are trying to encroach with their brand of I have no other word other than to call it undermining reparative justice. And that's what we're seeing with this House Resolution 414 by Cori Bush, this Democratic Party stunt. So go ahead, Brother Devon.
Yeah, I just wanted to just kind of piggyback on what Antonio was saying in regards to the new play with quote unquote Afro Latinos. And as y'all know, as y'all been seeing in the news, with what's going on in Texas and them kind of shipping and busing the illegal immigrants to various states and cities and quote unquote sanctuary cities. New York City is one of those. And so, we've been here, pushing back against that. And today is Friday. Man, the days be rolling together when you're out here doing this work and shit. But Tuesday, I went up to Capitol Hill because those are the days, one of the days that you could do advocacy. So I went to Albany and was stomping a yard for Freeman and for lineage-based reparations. and I was having a conversation to be exposed later in time, just being strategic with a lot of stuff that we're doing behind the scenes. But I can tell this part of it. There was a very, very powerful politician from the New York State Senate who is black, who is a freedman. And thankfully, just the way the things fell, and we always kind of cite Providence, but just the way the ancestors and whatever you believe in is helping us in this fight, I was able to have extended time with this individual, and we got into a very spirited debate, which we laid the ground rules for in the beginning. And so, all things were a go, and it was on the basis of specific advocacy for American freedmen. And I explaining to him that, based on what we've seen with the OMB, based on the way in which our ethnic group has been conflated with race, the bottom line is this: currently in America, and essentially for our entire time here, outside of the Reconstruction Amendments, there is no way, legally or legislatively, for politicians and specific policies to be crafted to talk directly to us and our needs. It just doesn't exist outside of the freedman status. So I was asking him, did he understand that? Because there is a difference between I'm going to ignore this constituency and I don't know how to legally and legislatively address this constituency because of all the challenges. And as we continued to talk, the one thing that dawned on me as we talked about immigration, as we talked about reparations, as we talked about the narcan and cobras before this resolution was even done, was even proposed publicly. We were just talking about things in general. And what I have come to understand, and if you're doing this work, you've come to understand it too, is that there are a group of politicians that we have put into place, whether because they look like us, told us they were going to do something for us, or we saw something in their platform that appealed to us, whether they be Democrat or Republican. The bottom line is that there is a number of them that are fully aware that legally and legislatively there's no way to address us and our specific needs, and they have not cared enough to do anything about it to figure out a way. And even when the way is introduced, which is the freedman status, because of precedents, they still find ways around using it to craft legislation specifically for us. And so I'm saying that to say, if not for the Black American grassroots, the freedmen grassroots that we are, without it, in many, many areas across this country, there would be nobody advocating for us specifically, if not for us. Because those that are in power, especially in the Democratic Party, as was kind of alluded to with talking about Clyburn and his power and his attitude toward us, a number of them are of the mindset, well, the alternative will be the Republicans, and they're not going to do shit for you. So you should be glad at whatever we decide to do for you because you don't have another choice. And that's the black ones, the white ones, the Caribbean ones, the Asian ones. That's all of the politicians. And so in this conversation with this gentleman, I told him, one, that we're not going away. So you need to get ready to adjust your mindset to the fact that you will have to adjust to this freedmen movement that is coming, whether you like it or not. It's not about you liking it. I don't even care if you like me. And I'm not here to like you or dislike you. The bottom line is that I will advocate for my people as I see fit. And this is the best way. And you, as a freedman, should be here advocating in the same way as which the immigrant politicians advocate for their people and their needs. And each ethnicity advocates for their people first, unapologetically. But we have people like you that we put into office that will go along with the get along and toe the company line instead of saying, you know what, no, let's find a way that I can address my people's needs. And I know I went the long way, I'm sorry, but I wanted to give you guys that background because
what they're doing now, to Antonia's point, and I'll pull my iron horse into the station on this. They believe here in New York and probably around the country that there is power in aggregating the numbers of who is considered black. And they think that trumps all the failure that we carry as the bottom of that aggregate of black. And so when I talked to him about disaggregation and that movement that we're pushing, he immediately pushed up against it to say there's no need to disaggregate blackness because that dilutes the power. And I said, until we disaggregate the data, though, we don't know how bottom caste we really are. Like, I was like, how do we address a need that isn't quantified? I was like, because not all blackness is equal. And so he said, well, you know, based on what I've seen, you know, first and second generation immigrants have some of the same outcomes. And I said, though that is true, I was like, you said second and third, what happens with the first? Especially those that have come in with money and means. That is still in their families while we're still carrying the failure. I was like, but let's just say you are correct. Doing the study, disaggregating the data would just prove you right. So let's do it anyway, so that we know we're on the same page with data backed up. Because right now, what you're talking about is anecdotal. And so we left that conversation not even coming to a consensus that we need to disaggregate the data to figure out who's suffering and how we're suffering. And I'm saying all that to say that these politicians, and, you know, talking about the Back South strategy, it's becoming evidently clear that that is going to be our best bet to aggregate the power that we need, because a lot of these individuals, even when they look like us, even when they are us, especially on the left, they are more than willing to sell out the collective for individual gain, for individual power and upward mobility, and or so they can take care of everybody else like we always have.
But man, powerful.
You know why that's really powerful? Because Brother Divine, I'm not sure about Divine. I think Divine, but I know Tony Blunt, our other brother, were kind of against the Back South strategy. Tell me, correct me if I'm wrong, Divine.
No, you're not wrong at all. We've, me and my brother Tony, we've had multiple conversations about it, and so we have never really been on it to promote it, but absolutely not against it to say, oh, okay, no, I don't think that'll work, because there's plenty of live streams that I was on you guys. Matter of fact, when we were reading the Bloody Shirt, and around that time is when oh God, what the hell is his name? Joe Manchin. When Joe Manchin was holding up everything with his stalemate, and I talked to you guys about it. You know, you guys would talk about it. And we had a conversation about, imagine if we had Freedman Joe Manchins in the states that we have a plurality, and saying, I'm not gonna vote for nothing y'all want to vote for until y'all do this Freedman agenda.
That's right.
And so it always made sense to me. But as you're getting out in this work, and you're engaging the politicians, even the politicians that you believe, okay, we have the in with because we're the same. So you grew up in this, you're going to understand why we need to disaggregate the data. When you find out how compromised those people are and how willing they are to say, I know what you're talking about, brother. Matter of fact, you've beaten me in this, because I mean, obviously I'm a humble dude, but I won that debate because everything I was talking about was backed up with data, and the data that we need. And so even winning the debate didn't change his mind to say, you know what, you're right, this is what I need to be advocating for. And that what we're finding is when we're talking to these politicians, it doesn't even matter when you're right. And because of who we are and how we have studied this topic, and I'm talking about all of us now in this room, and especially those that are of the Freedman consciousness, we don't miss. I'm going to just keep it a buck with you. We don't miss. And so if it was based on just being right and being sound and historically accurate, there'll be no question from anybody. We would already be where we're at. And so what I'm finding is that even in this blue haven, in this Democrat polarity, you know what I'm trying to say, we have the majority here. The bottom line is that we still can't get shit done. And when you start to question these people on why, it's based on the fact that they are unwilling to step out and do what needs to be done for the freedmen unapologetically, even when there's no real political consequence that they would face. And so then you have to start asking yourself why. And when you start to ask those whys and get into that conversation amongst with yourself and with the people that you respect, you start to see like, damn, until we get into those spaces or we get into a situation where we are sending people to Congress, sending people to these positions of power to represent our people, until it comes from our consciousness, like we're going to be dealing with these people that look like us, talk a good game, change things on the fly, like Anthony was saying. This is just going to be the reality until we have homegrown people of the freedom consciousness, of people that like, no, we're arguing and we're advocating for specificity. Until we have that, it's a toss-up on who we're going to come around. And even when we prove them wrong with facts, it still doesn't change their mind, because they were of the mindset of not doing anything for us anyway.
That's right. That's right. And, you know, as you were speaking, I thought about DeSantis and the government in Florida and how they rejected that what is it called? The college course thing that they was trying to do. I'm trying to remember the exact name, and it's slipping my mind at the moment. And I looked at it. I have refused to pass any judgment until I looked at it first. I wanted to see, because I know that when you're dealing with black folks, with Democrats, with Pan-Africanism, there's going to be a unicorn somewhere in the mix. And I looked at it and I said, why is that a part of the African-American curriculum? That doesn't belong there. And I looked at the names of some of the people that helped put this curriculum together, this course. And I see one name stuck out. And this brother, if he's fit for me to call him a brother, sits on with a black propagandist for the Democratic Party. That black propagandist is Roland Martin. That name that helped put that curriculum together was Greg Carr. His name, y'all go check it out. His name is there. Family, there is something nefarious going on in our black politics, and the black political class that is the establishment, as they're called. Like, we have to uproot them. We have to uproot them, and our advocacy, our education, the things that we are promoting and we're pushing, like Brother Devon said, they can't touch us. That's why they don't want you. Marcel just got interviewed on Fox News. He didn't get interviewed on MSNBC. Ari Melba, don't you like breaking down rap lyrics? Like, what's going on? Do you like breaking down rap lyrics? I got some rap lyrics for you to break down. You gonna bring the reparationists on? I'm just saying. So let me go to Fairness, and then we're gonna go to Jelly.
Naheem, go to somebody else, because I'm in the store. I'm about to come out in about few minutes.
All right, go ahead, Jelly.
What's going on, everybody? I have put in the chat. I'm trying to I really just kind of need some more information before I get to talking. I want to know what her proposal was, but off the top of my head, I think anything the Dems do is a publicity stunt. So I need to know more information about her proposal and what it entails. That's what I came up here to ask for. Maybe like an article or like some information about it and stuff.
All right, so man, and you're right. I should have posted that in the Jumbotron. But the proposal, and I did a breakdown last night on Be the Power, on the BTP Media Group channel, I should say. That's separate from our main channel, Be the Power. So y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to the BTP Media Group channel. We're trying to grow that channel. That's where we will be doing our live streams from. And I'm gonna post it up in the Jumbotron in a few minutes. Let me find it. But as reparationists that have been fighting for the past several years based on a shared understanding, for the most part, about how to achieve victory on this particular front. We have a specific language. We, especially those of us that be the power United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, we speak, we try to at least speak in a way, and we draft up the things that we draft up on our website in a way that the language is still great for what we're trying to do, so that it does not trigger what's called strict scrutiny in the courts.
Hey, the stuff is so good. You got people using the language and replacing freedmen with Negro and shit.
That's right. That's right.
No,
That's right.
go ahead,
You got a bunch of, yeah, no,
No,
because
we
it
ain't
is
got to
what
stay
it is.
there. We can just go ahead. So, because the
I
sister
got
has
you.
a.
I got you. I got you. And so what Cori Bush did in conjunction with Narcan and Cobra, particularly people that we've had, and I'm putting the link in the Jumbotron. Shout out to our sister Kelly and the Nevada Freedmen. Shout out to the Freedmen all over the country. It's like said, we forming Voltron up in this piece. And that's a fact. But anyway, so Cori Bush put together this resolution, and she didn't put it together. I can tell who wrote this resolution. It was more than likely written by Jessica Ann Mitchell Iwar and the operatives of NARC and in Cobra. And it is extremely problematic. And this is what we're touching on today, right? So I'm going to read the first line and then we'll go from there. This is from House Resolution 414. Recognizing that the United States has a moral and legal obligation to provide reparations for the enslavement of Africans and its lasting harm on the lives of millions of Black people in the United States. That opening line, the header of this proposal, this proposed resolution, is extremely problematic because no reparationist legislation is going to say reparations for the enslavement of Africans. Because when you speak about the enslavement of Africans, you are speaking about the people that are being directly captured on the continent of Africa and sold to the Europeans. Those people being sold are being sold by people that looked like them. So you cannot use that language. That's bad language. On our live stream last night, we played Erwin Chemerinsky, the Dean of Law of UC Berkeley, noted as the top constitutional scholar in the country, explaining how race-based legislation is going to fail. The Supreme Court, he breaks down the fact that this language will cause what's called strict scrutiny. And under strict scrutiny, there are suspect classifications, and race is one of them. So anything that is designed, and I pulled up an example with the Farm Bill, and where the farmers got, where Biden had set aside in the COVID-19 money for Black farmers, but it included other people. But the only reason why it was attacked by the right was because there was something in there for Black farmers. They know the playbook. And the white farmers were able to prove that what Biden drafted up was discriminatory towards white folk, although they got almost most of the money out of it. That wasn't the purpose. The purpose was not to be included in that. The purpose was to stop Black people from getting it. So success leaves clues, even if that success is the enemy being successful against us. And so we've been screaming for years, especially those of us at Be the Power, the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, that language means everything in the court of law, even when it says, and it's lasting harm on the lives of millions of black people in the United States. The right wingers that will challenge this, if anything comes of this proposal and some committees are formed, etc., this is the basis of it. This is the root. They're going to point, they wouldn't have to go past this opening line right here at all. There's another part, and I'm going to let you go, because I'm kind of breaking this thing down as we go along. I started off breaking it down, and so I guess this could be sort of a room reset. There's another part in this legislation that says, whereas to meet the international legal obligations of reparations, the federal government must compensate descendants of enslaved black people and people of African descent in the United States. So I ain't even got to read the rest. Problematic language. The federal government must compensate descendants of enslaved black people. That's race-based right there. And people of African descent in the United States. This is inclusive language, where they are including people from the African continent and people from the Caribbean. And this has been the goal of NARC and in Cobra. Go ahead, bro.
Let me add this about...
And then shoot it to the sister.
No doubt that the term African is not only inclusive, but it's also another racial term. Well, what a lot of people don't know is that if you go into the Dred Scott case, I think I mentioned it before, in that case, we were referred to by 4 different racial terms: African race, black race, colored race, and Negro race. All 4 terms were used in the Dred Scott case to refer to the same group of people. So in this country, within the judiciary, we've been referred to by every race name just about that you could think of. So even as it stands right now, them using the African, yeah, it's inclusive, which is going to include continental Africans, probably diasporans, people from the Caribbean, South America who would classify as black, but it's also another racial term. So it's like a double-edged sword, if you ask me, with regard to this whole African thing.
Absolutely. So go ahead, Sister Jelly. What's your take on that and your response?
That sounds like some bullshit. That's really all I got right now. I mean, I need to read the bill and sort of get more understanding. But for right now, it does kind of sound like a publicity stunt. I do think it is very, very important that I think it might be time for a party flip, and maybe not, even if not a party flip, we at least need to start reading and going policy based on policy, because not only are we leaving our politicians to be out there fending for themselves because they're mostly surrounded by Republican areas and being the only Democrat in the cities, they also are just really kind of sort of selling us out constantly. So I'm going to read the bill more, but for right now, I'm going publicity stunt and a bunch of word salad nothingness.
Indeed. And
but
that's exactly what it is.
But that's not just word salad, because I think you or the brother mentioned it before. This is a way to tank the reparations. That I mean, essentially, you can see it clearly. This is just a way to fucking, excuse my language, just to tank it, basically. And so essentially,
we curse up here. You good?
But
we just don't go overboard. You good
Ian,
though?
I think it might be
No,
time.
hold on. Let me go. Yeah, so I think as you said, this is the way to tank it. Essentially what I mean, the playbook is easy. And the fact that you said they getting $3 million that you said before, bro. Listen, oh man, I'm boiling, bro. My hair is standing.
From the MacArthur Foundation. Brother Ty Harper is on the stage. He's the one. I mean, I had heard it already, but he actually shared the actual article with me.
So somebody put the article. Somebody put the article up there so I can. God Almighty!
I'm gonna see if I can find it, and I'll put it up there.
I mean, but essentially this is the play, because essentially they're going to tank it, and essentially they're going to be like, okay, you're not going to give us this, give us a concession. But the concession is going to go to who? They're going to say, you know what, you're right, we can't do this race based, but give it to us as a group. This particular political organization group who represents who represents black people. And who are the black people that they're representing? They're representing the diaspora, essentially, not particularly freedmen in the
Mm-hmm.
United States. And means and listen, ever since be the power came onto the scene, a lot, I mean, if you're not rocking with be the power, I don't know if you're really serious about this reparations piece. I mean, that's been my thing. When I go to befriend people on social media, my first look is to see whether or not these niggas is friending Naeem and Josh and Ali and be the power. Because I'm like, yo, you don't have no framework without the work that they did connecting us back to the freedmen, right? You don't have no framework. And the thing is, if you're really serious, why would you not go along with what the government has already set forth for us? Why would you try to invent the wheel? If you're trying to invent the wheel, you're trying to invent it for somebody else. I'll land there.
I think it might be time that we look into who is donating a lot of money into her, because that might answer some of the questions that it seems as though we all have right now.
Yeah, we already know that. So make sure you start coming into these spaces when BTP is building. We break a lot of that stuff down. When you hear the OG Arthur Ward, when he goes in, like when Sister Roz does her spaces, they break that thing down from A to Z. Arthur Ward has a blog called Freedman Absolute that anyone can pull up right now. Make sure y'all subscribe to the brother's blog, because he knows these people inside and out. He knows them inside and out. He's been peeped to play. Like, we are a force. We are a force in this thing, family. And they know that we are a force. That's why they flexed on us like that the other day in front of the White House. That's why they flexed on us. They wanted to let us know, like, look, we snatching this shit from y'all, and ain't nothing y'all could do about it, because we have elected officials like Cori Bush that's going to push, whether ignorantly or if she's just complicit, going to push what we push. I want to give a quick story before I move to Brother Ty Harper, and that is a conversation I had with Dr. Darity about, we had a back channel meeting a couple years back, and I was like, I don't think that Narcan and Cobra are relevant, and they don't have no power, yada yada. Dr. Darity sharply checked me. He said, whoa, just because they don't have no large social media presence, and they don't have thousands and thousands of followers and YouTube. I can't remember everything he said, so I'm gonna add a little bit. And they don't got no YouTube channel and all of that other stuff. He said this to me: do not think that they do not have any power. He said they have power. They are not irrelevant. They have access to the people who have, how did he say it? They have access to the levers of power, is what he said. They have and they just pulled one of them levers on us. So that means we got to get our stuff together. We got to get our stuff together. So, for those of you that rock with Be the Power and the United Sons and Daughters of Freedmen, and those reparationists that's across the country, that, they have their own groups and their own organizations, but we all rock together. Like, when we're talking, just only thing we're asking you to pay is attention. That's the only thing you got to pay. Now, if you want to cop a Freedman Civics guide, you could go to usadof.org, right, and learn American civics and how to work that information into your mind and into your household, because that's how the book was written up. But other than that, we only ask for you to pay attention. That's it.
And my brother Devon, I just gotta give him a shout out, man. This dude, in my mind, is a genius. He's an excellent representative of this freedman's consciousness. And I just want him to know that I appreciate him and what he's attempting to do in New York.
Facts. Brother Devon is, when I first heard him calling in on Old Girl Show, Old Girl Show, I was like, yo, that brother right there is sharp. That's a sharp dude right there. Yo, go ahead, Brother Ty Harper.
Yeah, peace, everybody. Hey, peace, Naeem. Definitely peace, Brother Ali. I talk to you and I get a chance.
Peace,
Brother
bro.
Divine, peace. We gotta strategize on a couple of things happening in New York. I know exactly what you're talking about, bro. Don't worry. Brother Ferris, long time no see. Peace, brother, and peace to all the sisters and brothers that are here. What's going on? I just came in to say we already know I'm USA BDP. We already know that, but I came in here to say something that Brother Tyrone from Georgia, when we were in a space recently, because I don't get to do spaces as much as I used to, he brought up something, and I think that we need to put this out here and understand exactly what's going on. What Cori Bush is doing is not just her, and it's not just immigrants trying to push her to do it. This is coming from our own Black Americans here in America, the ones that are known as Pan-Africanists. They're the ones that are putting the battery in the diaspora's back, saying that, hey, we're going to get you what you want here just because. They're pushing that into public policy and trying to push it into law. Facts. That is exactly what they are doing. If you look at Cori Bush, okay, and everything that Cori Bush is doing right now, take a look first at Boston, that Pan-African festival that they're claiming is the exact words is Juneteenth festival for the Caribbean heritage and the African diaspora, and they're actually charging money for this. I know everybody has seen this going around on the internet. This is what they're doing. They don't do anything that's productive for us. They want to hijack everything that we have and try to use it for their own agenda. That's why you're seeing this now. I read this resolution because it's not even a bill; it's an actual resolution. That means is that they're trying to get support from everybody in Congress and the Senate and put it on the president's desk. Like, hey, we got support. Can you help us out by signing this in? It is nothing but HR 40 remixed. They're trying to get the same thing signed into law or get an executive order to do so. Think about that for a minute. And Brother Naheem, okay, already broke this down beautifully when he says they're talking about giving it to, if you look at the language alone is going to be struck down by strict judicial scrutiny. It is not even going to be difficult. They're using race. They're using people that by lineage have never suffered anything in this country. So if somebody says, well, I can't get a cab in New York, I'm like, file a civil lawsuit. That's what it's there for. It's called a civil rights lawsuit, okay? And this is what's going on. The diaspora wars are used to distract us, okay, and try to get us labeled as I forget what that big bird looking dude with the gray dreads and those big yellow dashikis. I forgot his name, okay, probably good self. I think it's a Mark something or other, but he's the one that's always saying,
Mark Thompson.
Oh, okay, yeah, Mark Thompson. Thank you. I'm gonna call him Big Bird Thompson. Easier to remember. Anyway, he keeps saying that, oh, this is a Navitist movement. I'm like, Navitist? I'm like, okay, so versus being all for Pan-Africanism, okay, we can't organize and we can't go out here and get anything solidified, locked in for ourselves. Say whatever you want about the diaspora, and I'm telling you right now, nobody in this room on this stage is against the diaspora or other Black people around the world. But we have given more for the fight of liberation and more to help Black people around the world than any other Black people on the planet. And I'm going to say that again. In America, we have done more for every other Black people on the planet than anybody else. It's not even close. We helped stop apartheid. We helped free people from governments that are doing them wrong. We help everybody in every way. And the Pan-Africanists in this country are turning around and allowing people to disrespect us because their movement is literally a dead one. See, the problem with the Pan-African movement is that they've been trying it for God knows how long, and it's not gone any further than it is now. As a matter of fact, the way it's being used against us now, Pan-Africanism is being weaponized against us. Now, not by everyone, okay? Because I know some Africans that I deal with on a regular basis say, what's going on is BS. This is your country. You built it. You're the reason when we got here. I have no problem with fighting for reparations for you guys and making sure you guys get it, Just don't forget to help and work with us. I'm like, that's fine. I have West Indians that I talk to, mostly from Trinidad and Barbados, and they're exactly, what is this fuckery they talking about? We have our own thing to fight for. You know what I'm trying to say? So I don't even know exactly who these Pan-Africanists think they're speaking for. That's just a fact. So keep that in mind. The diaspora wars that they're trying to put out there are really just a cover for them to try to say, oh, we are xenophobic. You can't be xenophobic if you have no goddamn power. I'm going to say that right now. We don't have the power to subjugate or stop anybody from getting anything because of where they come from. That is BS. We don't have that. As Brother Naheem and Brother Ali said, we do not have access to the levers of power like that. So how can we do anything? Look up the actual Webster or Oxford Dictionary term of xenophobia. Okay? What we are facing right now is we're facing a fight on two fronts. By those who don't look like us and who hate us, and by those who look like us who come from our lineage but want to take it from us so that they can stay on top. Ask yourself a question. If we got reparations tomorrow, okay, what would NCOBRA be able to do? Nothing. Am I correct? The Congressional
That's a fact.
That's a fact. The Congressional Black Caucus is made up of more foreign blacks than it is American freedmen, and that's a problem. I mean, it is absolutely when you look at it, it's absolutely sinister. So I really want. I'm going to say it again, Brother Naheem. I don't care what nobody say. I want to say this right now. Stop the fucking stupidity, okay? I don't care what you want to be called. I don't care what you want to label yourself as, but our political status has to be American freedmen. Why? Because it's been on the books since the 1850s. And they were not able to take it off the books because it was coded into federal law, United States Code, as well as Freedmen's Act that came before and along with the Freedmen's Bureau Act of 1866. They were able to get Negro off the books, but they cannot get that off the books. And that is their biggest problem. So keep that in mind.
Ty,
I'm done. Hey, what's up, bro?
United States codes, not the Code of Federal Regulations, but the United States codes. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead, bro.
I said U.S. code, USC.
That's a little shot. That's a little shot right there at some people.
Yeah. Not you, bro. Not you. You said it right. You said it right.
All right. I understand. I'm like, Ollie, do you want me to come out to New York and have a discussion, bro? We could do that, but I'm not going to do it. And that's my whole point. I want everybody to understand that. They're already attacking us wholesale. They're actually paying people that attack us and GoFundMe and crowd raising. Okay? They're actually out here attacking reparations from every side. And people will claim that, CNN and the liberal so-called mainstream media is on our side. Only person that I've seen recently actually interviewing us, even if we have to get on there and debate them, sorry to say, is Fox News. And when Fox News is the only news channel willing to sit out there and challenge to see if you can speak the truth to them, that tells you how far down the rabbit hole we have gone. I don't trust them to save my life, but at least they are not afraid to put stuff out there, okay? And that sucks. And I'm not telling y'all to sit around and watch Fox News all day. Don't be silly. I'm just saying that look at all the areas where the data and the information is coming from and see even though they're just trying to do it because they're trying to shut us down or they have another agenda. We don't know what that is, but at least there's some coming out. What is CNBC? Okay. What has CNN? Okay. What has any of those liberal so-called Democratic shill sites have? What are they doing? They're talking about immigration and they're talking about how we need to help. I'm like, we're not going to help people that are coming over here who are anti-black in their culture. Plus, you're not doing anything for us. How are you giving them billions of dollars a year? Now, I'm sure everybody's already seen the New York Times article that talks about how they've already started giving them $7,000 a month. Once they clear their get here and sign off on that paperwork and they're here, that means the second you step on shore and they accept you as a migrant, they give you a government phone, okay? They give you a debit card for which they're going to give you $7,000 a month. How many people in this room right now can say they get $7,000 a month working their asses off?
You said a month?
A month, my brother.
Oh my God.
That's $70,000 a year. Plus they're paying for their room and board. And get this, I didn't know this until I did some more research the last week. they also do not have to pay taxes for the first, I think it's 7 years. I'm like, wait, what? We're paying taxes and we're getting our asses kicked by the people who we're paying taxes to, using our tax dollars to destroy us and our community, and they're not even going to get charged taxes for the first few years. I'm done. It's ridiculous. So keep that in mind. Let's keep what the real fight is. We don't have to like each other. Hell, we don't have to live with each other. In Puerto Rico, in New York City, Ali, Divine, and Abba will all back me up on this. Puerto Ricans hate Dominicans. Go into Washington Heights and say, "Hey, I hate. I'm Puerto Rican and I hate Dominicans." I dare you to see if you get out alive after you do that. Okay?
That's real.
That's real. My whole point is that most of them, Mexicans don't like Colombians. Everybody apparently in the Latino community doesn't like Mexicans, and so on. I want y'all to understand that they don't have to like each other, but they come together like fingers on a hand. They form a fist long enough to get what they need done. Then everybody unforms that fist and goes back into their neutral corners and does what they do. That's all we're saying we need to do. We don't have to goddamn like each other. We need to fight and get what we need to get. And then afterwards, everybody goes back to their neutral corner until we need to get stuff done. And let's keep it a buck. That's all it's going to be. If you can't understand that and you don't want to hear that, then you want to lose, because once again, this is not a fight just for reparations and for a Black agenda and policy. It is. This is a fight for our goddamn survival. The data prior to the pandemic said that we were going to be broke, completely wealthless by 2053. One more time, thanks to the pandemic and the new data that's coming out, we don't have to wait that goddamn long. By 2030, less than 7 years, if we don't turn this around, we're done. Stop playing games. Stop the nonsense. Get on your horse and ride with us, or get off your horse and stay home. That's all I got, bro.
Oh, no doubt. Powerful, powerful. Make sure y'all look in the Jumbotron, Brother Ian. I put the screenshot up showing how that $3 million breakdown with the link. So, and my thing is, I don't know if the MacArthur Foundation is bad, right? I don't know that. All I know is that they have identified a group that claims that they're fighting for reparations, and they're giving them money. I don't know. I don't know. They could be as nefarious as Narc and Cobra. I haven't done that much research on them, but I know we got some OGs up in here. We got OG Otis and we got OG Arthur Ward here. They on their ass, so they know all about it. My point is that they have a war chest. 1.5 mil. They have a war chest. They can move around the country. Were some donations made to Cori Bush's campaign? I don't know. We might have some conflicts of interest here. Some homework for all of us to chip in on and do, because my brother Logic would often say politics is war without bloodshed. And with that, I'm gonna go to Devon, and then we're gonna go to the new speaker, Christine.
We can go to Christine first, since I spoke a little bit.
Okay, Christina. Okay, Christina dropped off. Go ahead, brother Devon.
All right, then it was meant for me to cook now. So just to kind of piggyback off what Ty was saying, because he kind of sparked some things on me when he talked about he did that really bad Caribbean accent, but that's how they do it in the Bronx, so we just gonna leave that alone. But to his point though, like there's a bunch of riders and people that we rock with that I grew up with that understand there's a difference between our ethnicities, but respect those differences, respect those boundaries, and we still work together and rock out in ways to get what we need. But I'm highlighting that to say this. Last month I was asked to speak at Buffalo State, and I went to Buffalo State and I did a presentation on the history of the reparations movement, but more importantly, the history of the lineage-based reparations movement. Because up until Narcan and Cobra come on the scene with their version of Pan-Africanism, and that's important to point out, their version, this current modern day version of Pan-Africanism, before you get there, starting with Special Field of the 15, going to Callie House and her pension movement, all the way up to present day to us. There is not a moment in the history of the reparations movement where they said reparations is due to everybody black. It never happened.
Come on, bro.
Not
That's right. That's
Malcolm,
right.
not Dr. King. We already know that y'all have deemed him the Messiah of mission drift. He was not fighting for reparations, so we can just exclude him. But when we talk about one of the most prominent Pan-Africanists in the history of the Pan-Africanist movement, Queen Mother Moore was a staunch Pan-Africanist. But Queen Mother Moore had two organizations that she started. One, to advocate for reparations for slavery descendants, and another, her Ethiopian organization that was to fight for things that she believed the diaspora deserved. In fact, it's cited in Dr. Darity's book, and I think it's apropos on his birthday today. Malcolm X, at a speech he was doing at Michigan State, stated that reparations were due to those that built the country. That's us. And with separation, he believed that black people that migrated into the country deserved a black agenda and a safe space for them to come to when and if they came to the country, so they did not have to face the consequences of being mistaken for the American freeman in America, who he called the so-called Negro. And so it's not until Narcan and Cobra come on the scene that you see this conflation where they say, oh, it's not slavery, it's not reparations for those that had ancestors that were enslaved and emancipated. It's for all black people. Let's just push it together. Where everybody that preceded them separated them. And it was because of the badges of slavery that will be visited upon those immigrants that look like us. That's what they advocated to protect them from, not to give them the reparations that was due to us and our ancestors because we built the country. And this new version of Pan-Africanism is the one that is looking to undermine the entire, not just us, but the entire history of the reparations movement at large. And that has to be called out and that has to be pointed out. Because then when we analyze it in that way, and I'm not saying, become a Pan-Africanist again based on what it used to be. I'm just saying that distinction needs to be made because a lot of when I'm in the community, and especially here in New York, I do, like Anthony said earlier, I do run across a lot of Pan-Africanists, right? And especially a lot, even if they don't consider themselves staunch Pan-Africanists or officially Pan-Africanists, because of the way we've been socialized, especially in New York City, I come across them and they view us all as the same. Like, yeah, we all black. That's my black brother. He's from the Caribbean or he's African, but that's my black brother. But when we start talking about brass tacks, when we get down to who reparations owe to, when I tell them that Narcan and Cori wants to give reparations to those that came as recent as yesterday, 6 months ago, a year ago, all of a sudden, that all we the same, now they draw the lines for themselves. I'm not convincing them to. We just having a conversation. They automatically come up and say, wait, what? Why would they get it? Yeah, that's my black brother, but why would they get it? What would they get it for? And some of them are so confused that that's even a conversation. It's the first time they even heard of the concept of somebody from Africa or the Caribbean getting reparations in America. And so I just implore us to continue to get out there and talk to our community because, yeah, we've been socialized, especially here in New York. We've been socialized to view each other as one black people, so we're moving forward toward a goal. But when we start talking about restitution and reparation for harms done, our people know who we are and our people know who's owed. And so the more people that we can get on board with that, regardless of whatever delineating term they use, we can educate them on freedmen, whatever they decide to use, everybody agrees on lineage-based reparations, as opposed to this whole let's save the entire black world, regardless of whenever they got to America, or even regardless if they're in America currently.
So let me ask you a question real quick, Brother Devon. Do you believe that what's happening in these Twitter streets, for instance, is a form of what's the word I'm looking for? Radicalizing, right? Like we have these like jams, then you got like Luke and all of these different Democratic shills, Stephen the Lame, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that people are coming into these Twitter streets and getting radicalized by hearing a repetitive message? And that's why the conversation sounds different online than it does from, everyday people that we talk to?
So I think there's a mixture. Let me say yes, but I think there's some extras on that, right? I think in addition to that, you have, as we just saw, and we knew this wasn't anything new, but I'm glad they finally admitted it. Like we know the Biden campaign is paying folks to come through and spit out a certain message, right? So we know these people have been, have been paid for a really long time, and I like to say that we got people that are paid agents of the state. And then we got paid agents of their mental state, like people that think they right, people that don't know enough. They don't have enough of the information. They going based on something they heard or somebody else told them. And then the next piece of that, which I think is happening, is what we find. And, we from New York, so we'll recognize real. We understand that people talk a good game, but when it comes face to face, that shit is a whole different story. You could talk real spicy over the phone. And we got a whole bunch of people that talk real spicy with their fingers online. But then when I see you in person, all of a sudden you ain't got half the energy. You act like you don't know what I'm talking about, right? So what's happening is that you have a whole bunch of people that are purposefully acting stupid, playing dumb, and suspending the nuance that's needed to have this conversation because they're online. Because when you're in person and we start to have the conversation and I start explaining it to you, all of a sudden you can understand it. All of a sudden it's like, okay, I know where you come from. I got you. Like all of a sudden it's that type of energy. So I think that's at play as well. Where, you have the ability and the privilege of being extra contrarian, extra loud, extra combative online, whereas if I'm talking to you in person, all of a sudden we could find the common ground because I can't remember who said this, but somebody said it at the heart of all, and I can only speak for males, at the heart of all male confrontation and conversation is the healthy threat of violence. Knowing that if you get too out of line, there's a consequence to pay if you playing in my face and disrespecting me in person. Where online, without that threat, people start talking like they bout it, and we know that they're not.
Facts. Get punched in your fucking mouth. Basically, that's what he's trying to say. You get punched in your fucking mouth for talking greasy. But definitely, I feel you on that. And you mentioned that we got it is the whole top row from how I see it on my stage is just all New York up here. We got Queens, we got Harlem, we got Bronx, and we got Brooklyn. We grew born and raised in New York. You know what I'm saying? We take our little digs at each other, but not like Nas. I gotta play this real quick. Shouts to the west side, to the 6th borough, Far Rock, South Side. I'll just have to stop at that Far Rock shout out. But anyway,
as long as y'all recognize that this thing come from the Bronx and Harlem,
that's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right. No Bronx slander, goddammit.
No doubt. So, family, man, you see the number one, the level of conversation that we have is always a high level of conversation. Our topics are always thought-provoking, and they're usually designed to rally us to around the issue. This Twitter thing, man, there's so many times that I just was about to delete my account, man, just because I don't see the traction happening. Like, these people are flexing on us, family. They're flexing on us. It's that term, they playing in our face. That's what this whole Cori Bush That video that they did with all of them cheesing, they know that that bill that they put together was BS and that it was designed to undermine and undercut what we are doing as the grassroots reparationists. Now, we could all go back into our respective corners, or we could do like Brother Ty Harper said. We could still go back into our respective corners, but are you going to hold on to the thread that's connected to the issue and always pull yourself back to it when you're needed? You don't gotta like me or BTP or anybody that's on this stage. I'm cool with that. My bills don't get paid from somebody liking or disliking me, period. So if that's not the case, then in this space, then we need to be rallying. We need to be rallying around issues like this. We need to start identifying people that can run. Again, I said it earlier, political operatives, political organizers, and political candidates. That is the key. That is the key. We have the tools. I have them. I've been to Tesla and Figaro's Push the Line boot camp. I took copious notes and pictures and screenshots and a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm just saying,
Shout
I
out to
noticed
Tez, man. Shout out
that's
to
right.
Tez.
Shout out to Sister Tesla. That's right. Shout out to my sister Sonny in the building as well. You know,
Shout out
you
to
got to
Sonny.
shout out. That's right. Shout
Hey,
out
yo, you know what?
shout out these heavyweights.
I would love
Yeah,
to
go
know
ahead,
what
bro.
Sonny thinks about Cori Bush's proposed resolution. And she might not want to speak on it, but I would love to know her thoughts on it.
No, definitely. But I will say we are gonna have a discussion tomorrow on Sister Sonny's Sirius XM radio show about this very topic. But if the sis wants to come up and share, definitely come up, man, and because this thing is crazy. We see what the Democrats are trying to do, and like we can no longer ignore it. We can't ignore it. We can't just keep saying Republican bad, Republican bad. We just can't keep saying that while we're looking at these people. There's a meme where there's a guy, he's dressed up as a human donkey, I believe it is. And he's holding a cake. And he's handing the cake to a little Mexican kid. And he's looking back at the little freedman like, beat it, kid, or something like that. Like, that's what we're going through right now with these Democrats and their pets. And I use a disparaging term because that's how I view the Black Democratic Party. When I'm listening to Roland Martin and he say, we did our job, our number one job was to get Trump ass up out of there. That was your number one job? You mean to tell me that after getting Trump out, the policies of that, I guess we could call it an invisible policy of benign neglect, you're going to let that playbook play out just so you could say you got Trump up out of office? How has that been working out for us? See, they don't want to have the conversations. I tweeted at Roland Martin yesterday. Like, when are y'all going to have these one-on-ones? Because, see, they know how to ball people up with these questions. Like, I'm going to memorize this and this. I know he don't know about title such and such and title this and title that. That shit ain't going to mean nothing to me. I think I'm an excellent debater. I know how to cut through all of that stuff because I know how to flip some questions back on you. Hey, man, I don't know nothing about that. But what do you know about this or that or that? And that will tie directly into what we're doing as reparationists. Because that's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. So, it won't work with me. And I think they know that.
That's one of their plays. The Democrats love hitting you with a lot of random I got you stuff like, see, I threw this bullshit at you that you ain't know nothing about. You know what I mean? Because you didn't answer right, that means you're not smart. Man, shut the fuck up, man.
Fact.
But Joy Reid already came out and admitted that if it wasn't for freedmen, right, that the black immigrants couldn't come over here. That was when she was speaking on I think she was speaking on Don Lemon's discussion with that racist Asian dude or whatever. But she said that, you know what I'm saying? She said, yeah. I don't know why she was fighting all the time, and just recently she comes out and say, yeah, if it wasn't for freedmen, right, we would not have been able to come over here. She said that on air, on live.
So And if you recognize that, then how do you ignore the rest of what we're saying? Because she probably wouldn't have said that 5-6 years ago.
Right.
She probably wouldn't have said it. She said it because she hears what the reparationist grassroots are saying. I
So
got threads.
let me add to that, right? Because I'm glad you brought that up. This is something I've been meaning to talk about. When was the first time that Africans or people of African ancestry were able to come over here after emancipation? What year was it? I know what year it was. I'm just asking rhetorically. 1870, right? 1870, there was a change in the Naturalization Act that specifically allowed people of African ancestry to come into the country. But this had a lot to do with the work of those particular freedmen legislators in conjunction with those other radical white Republicans. So their work opened up the avenues for naturalization of people of African ancestry as early as 1870. That's when that Naturalization Act changed to open up for Africans. So when we tell people that if it wasn't for the work of our ancestors, going back to what Lincoln said, remember, Lincoln said if it wasn't for the military assistance of these black freedmen, the war against the South could not have been won. So if it wasn't for their work in the war and afterwards during Reconstruction in the legislatures, the change in the Naturalization Act of 1870 wouldn't have happened. These people would not have been able to come here because from up until that point, the only people able to come were people known as free white persons. You had to be considered a free white person. We already know about the Chinese Exclusion Act. So if you were not a free white person up until 1870, you couldn't even come and naturalize into the United States. So it's because of our work. So I just want the people to go away with that. The family to go, when we tell these people that if it wasn't for the work of our people, our ancestors, y'all would not be able to be here. Because a lot of foreign blacks don't believe that. They think that that's bullshit when you're saying, what are you talking about? That doesn't have, y'all didn't have nothing to do. That's not true. Take it all the way back to that 1870 Naturalization Act during the time. And see, this Reconstruction thing is very important. A lot of people don't understand that, how significant that time period really was. Meanwhile, I just wanted to add that since you brought it up, my brother.
That's a powerful, powerful point, man. That is a powerful point. Yeah, brother Ian, people like Joy Reid, they're getting they're listening to us. A lot of people are listening. I got whole threads where I'm breaking stuff down, and I got clips of Roland Martin. These reparations folks out there, how you gonna get the votes? Like they always try to scare you after that, right? So it's like, okay. And I said it in the caption of the tweet. I got a whole thread with Roland on there, right? I don't know if the thread is about Roland, but I say it in the tweet. I said, the Democrats, and this is before the election, the Democrats have control over the executive branch. They have control over Congress, and they have control. Well, basically, they have control over the Senate because Kamala Harris represents the tiebreaker in the Senate. So he always talks about how you're going to need 60 votes. How you going to do this? How you going to do that? If you don't vote Democrat, basically is what he's saying. How you ain't going to get the Republicans? You ain't going to get the Republicans to champion reparations with y'all stupid asses. Like, this is how he talks to us. He's condescendingly, but he won't have no direct debates with me or Marcel or anybody in this reparationist. He will not have no direct one-on-ones. These people are intellectual cowards because they don't want to get embarrassed in front of their people, and they don't want to get like one of them viral moments that was made when he was going up against that King Randall guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, well, we got to be easy. We can't be letting you just get these viral moments made against you, Roland. But anyway, if you got
I can't see that anymore, Naheem, because he blocked me ever since I sent him that meme of him called Snack Panther. He's so mad at me.
Yeah. See, I never really came at him like that. That's why I don't think he blocked me. When Roland responds to me, he just be like, "With y'all stupid asses," and that's it. He said he was going to roast me.
He said he was going to respond to something you did, but he never. He decided not to do it.
He
I thought that
decided
was pretty funny
because I set him up with how I worded it. I had to think before I went live. And I said, if they're listening good enough, they're gonna know that I set him up. I want him to jump out there so he can say, you know what? Let me bring this guy on. So I can't even remember everything that I said, but I don't even remember what the topic was. But I was like, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna word this thing in a way that is gonna kind of sound off. And
It's
he always
COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act.
was that what it was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Because we start talking about it was
Asian hate
the
crime
bombing.
bill.
He was talking
Yeah.
about the legislation. I think it was the 68 civil rights 68 civil rights legislation. Yeah, that's right. And so I crafted my words in a way that it seemed kind of off. It threw my brother Ali off. Ali was like, yo, you said. I was like, yeah, I know I said that. He was like, but I was like, chill. So I wanted Roland to, and I'll explain to Ali exactly what I did. But I wanted Roland to think like, yeah, man, okay, this guy don't really know what he's talking about. Let me bring him on so I could cook him. Because we gotta cook these people, and if they afford us the platform, that's exactly what they're gonna do. They're just gonna keep talking at us as opposed to talking to us. And in doing so, and then saying what they say about reparations, they are signaling to us tacitly that we do hear y'all, but we don't care. We are party first, and we know that y'all are policy first, which we are. I don't give a damn about a political party. How can I care about a political party at this point when there's no policy that's being drafted up currently that addresses my people? Why would I? The Republicans are dissing reparations, and they want to say nigger, and say the same dude, Bill Walsh, that said he want to be able to use the word nigger, put out a tweet and said Karen is a racist term against white women. It's like, what? They trolling. They gotta be trolling at this point, which is what they're doing. You got the Vivek Ramaswamy dude. I might as well just keep it official and put it out there. I was contacted because he wanted supposedly have a conversation with me about reparations. I'm like, sure. Now, this is after he ducked the smoke with Sister Sunny. He ducked that smoke. He didn't want that smoke because Sister Sunny had held like 2-3 spaces and she was going in. And that dude I know he was listening. And he probably was like, nah, let me try another route. He's in Chicago today. And I put the Friedman family on him. So the Friedman family probably up there slow rotisserie roasting that dude right about now. I don't know what time their Q&A starts, but he's in Chicago. And my Friedman family are there. So, I mean, but
I
the
thought he
point is
wanted
we
to
got
talk.
all of this.
What happened? I thought he wanted to talk or something.
Yeah, he didn't. I never got the phone call. They were supposed to call me so that we could set it up. We had one of the sisters, one of the y'all know I don't really like to say black conservatives no more, man. But you gotta kind of say it so people can know who the hell you talking about. But one of the black conservative sisters hit me up, and she was like, I've spoken with Vivek, and I told him about you, and he would like to have a conversation with you about reparations. I'm like, yeah, let's set that up. Absolutely.
Yeah, until he
Absolutely.
started digging. And he
He
changed his
probably was
mind.
like, hold up.
But
Yeah.
you
Like,
know,
hold up.
what I got from all this reparations, really what standing out the most for me is learning how many millions of white folks they let in between the late 1800s and the early 1900s. I think when I did all the math, when I looked at the census, it looked like over 100 million white people were let in maybe like a 50 or 60, 70-year span. And this was right before the Great Depression. So some years ago when we were doing the ADOS thing, right? The white boy came on talking about, oh, you don't deserve reparations because all of that wealth was done away with the Great Depression. But I'm like, oh, I mean, You know, so you know, I mean, I was going. There's a way to go with that as far as whether the wealth was dissipated or not, right? But what I wanted to focus on is the fact that 100 million of you came over here and basically you destroyed the American economy. You came in, you guys didn't have, you guys were so poor and didn't have shit. You came over here, leached off America, and destroyed the fucking economy. So first of all, before we even go into the debate about whether or not the wealth was still there, right? In terms of and whether or not we deserve reparations because we're all on a even playing field now. I'm not even going to get into that yet. I'm going to shame you over the fact that those poor sorry asses came over here begging and put this country in fucking bankrupt, right? You created the Great Depression, but nobody says that. But I'm saying that. You 100 million of you poor dusty ass white folks came over here and created the fucking Great Depression. But not for you motherfuckers coming over here, black people, with all our fucking issues, we would have continued to thrive. But you motherfucking poor asses came over here. You didn't have shit. You came over here living off of the wealth that was here that we created as black folks, right? And you created the fucking Great Depression. So first of all, you don't have so listen, if you came over here as an immigrant during that time, you don't even have a right to even open your fucking mouth. And so that the Asian dude, Vivica, whatever his name is, he's Indian or whatever.
Not Vivica.
Vivica, that sorry ass Vivica ass motherfucker. But listen, you know what I'm saying? He's banking on following these other white immigrants because I'm part of the Black Manosphere. This guy Nick Fuentes is big thing about him. Listen, I was listening to this motherfucker.
Him and Jazz Pearly thing.
Yeah,
Pearly. I'm following.
Yeah, I was listening to this motherfucker, right? And I'm trying to figure out because he was with Kanye. The whole Kanye blow up, right? I'm listening to this little motherfucker. He's like in his 20s or some shit. And I'm listening. I said, how in the world did this dumb little motherfucker get depressed that he could? Because first of all, because he started talking, he talked about his family didn't come over here until the early 1900s. Motherfucker, how you in this conversation? How are you in this fucking conversation about black and white over here and you just fucking got over here?
Yo, look, I said to this guy yesterday, right? It's a racist white dude talking about they already paid reparations because some of them died during the Civil War, right? So that we could be free. This, they push that kind of lie too. I had to ask him, well, when did your family get here? Because see, let me tell you something about white folks, what they like to do. They like to lie and they try to take credit for things that don't have anything to do with them. Many of them will do this. I'm willing to bet you that the majority of the people in the United States right now who are calling themselves whites are of immigrant stock. They're not of the quote unquote foundational whites in this country. The majority of them are immigrant.
Exactly.
And the majority of the pushback from quote unquote white people that we get are white people of immigrant stock. I guarantee you this. The majority of pushback we get from anybody are people of immigrant stock, whether they white, Latino, Asian, black, whatever. They're usually some kind of foreign people that's pushing back against it, right? And so these people, man, there'll be white folks who come here at the turn of the century, 1900, 1905, 1910, shit like that. And they'll start talking this we shit, right? Like we think it's just us that have that we problem. We this, we that. They start that we shit, like we did this and we did that. And we freed y'all. Like, motherfucker, you wasn't even here. What the hell are you talking about? That's why a lot of them be saying, my people never owned no slaves. My people, yeah, because you motherfuckers didn't get here until 1915. That's why you didn't know. So why you in the conversation?
And that's what we got to say. I just put in the Jumbotron, and it's crazy because I've seen Sister Sunny post this I think it was Sister Sunny that posted this, and I commented on it. And this white, I think it was, the white North Carolina House Rep, Jeff McNeely, asked his brother, did you get into Harvard because you was an athlete or a minority? Boy, I pray that I become an elected official and some white person, European American, asks me that question, because I'm going to destroy him right there on the spot. How did you get in here? Were you a legacy admission based off the monies that was built off the backs of my ancestors that built this place, that built Harvard, that used slave labor? How the hell did you slide up in here for free? Because even if I did get in here on as an athlete, I still worked harder than your ass, straight up. And then I'll just start destroying them from there. So, man, all right. So we got Miss T on the stage. Go ahead, Miss T.
Hey, Naheem, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you for hosting this space. Thank you to everybody that's coming with all of this education and knowledge, but it's very appreciated. But Brother Ian said it. They are the ones who caused the Great Depression. And if you look at what's happening now with this influx of broke-ass people with no skill sets, but bringing over children, it's going to happen again. History just may repeat itself again. When will they learn? You got all of these immigrants coming over here, not bringing anything, throwing their IDs away, hiding who they really are. So we don't know who's in this country. We don't know what type of atrocities you have committed where you're coming from. And from my understanding, they have even released people out of prisons in these third world nations. These people are cave-like in their mindsets. People in Mexico, the age of sexual consent in Mexico is 12. And these are the type of individuals that will be coming here, going to schools with our children, and there is no protection set forth by this government. But Ian, thank you for bringing up the fact America was doing fine. America was doing well based on the work that our ancestors did to make this the richest country where people wanted to come to it. And that 100 billion or 1 billion broke it down. I'm saying it, somebody had to say it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, you breaking up, sis. But we
Yeah, we
heard
got to
your
take pride
message
in
though.
that. Yeah, we got to take pride in who we are, even above these white immigrants. We're better than them too. We're better than them. We're better than all of these motherfuckers, man. All of these immigrants. And I'm even go so far as feminism would not even exist but for all these broke ass fucking 100 million white folks coming over here. It wasn't because see, feminism didn't have the teeth, right? Because I saw pictures, right? You had millions of white women out in the street, but these were not foundational white women. These were fucking immigrants. And I'm like, bitch, you just got over here. How the fuck are you out here trying to get rights, right? Even under feminism, and bitch, you just got here. There wasn't nobody oppressing you over here, motherfucker. How you out in the street?
Yeah, man. Come on now. See? Yeah.
Indeed. So look, fam, man, this has been a good, productive conversation. We wanted to kind of give a recap on the live stream that we did last night, where we analyzed some of the horrible language of House Resolution 414. Obviously, I've made some corrections because I kind of conflated a House resolution with a bill later as I went on into the stream. Like I said, sometimes, when you're doing them live streams, you can get distracted trying to watch the chat and respond and read and do all of that stuff. And some things start to blend in, right? It's like, all right, we talk about this House resolution, not HR 40. I wasn't able to hear it until after I did it last night. And then I got a call from the OG Arthur Ward this morning. He was like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I peeped it. I peeped it. He was like, yeah, that was a House resolution. That no presidential action or anything comes from that. I was like, yep. But we do know that when you have resolutions like that, they can be the basis to form certain committees. And if it's not anything that is going to lead to any executive action, then what is the purpose? What is the purpose of it? Man, I got bad news. I just came across my notifications. Jim Brown, NFL legend and Hall of Famer, dies at 87. That was that brother. He was a freedom fighter for what it's worth, man. He came through. He came through that struggle with our people. I think about that Jamie Foxx versus LL Cool J fight that they had on the set of that. What was that football movie? And Bill Bellamy was talking about it, telling the story and how he said Jim Brown, was the one that got them together to like squash that beef. So,
Yeah.
for what it's worth, man, rest in peace to Jim Brown. And then, we think about older civil rights activists like that. And I think at some point they get absorbed into how Black politics transformed over the past several decades. And next thing you know, they're sounding just like everybody else. When we looked at Tavis Smiley and Cornel West, they were like the only ones that were criticizing Barack Obama. I thought they was hating at first until I started to really listen. I'm like, hold up. And I started peeping some things. I'm like, wait, I think Tavis Smiley and Cornel is right about what they're saying about Obama. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Devon.
Nah, I was just you just went off on a tangent with that. I was gonna say something else, but I was at that point I was just agreeing with you. Like, yeah, man, like because we have to, with Jim Brown, we got to bring up that meeting with Trump and what we see, unfortunately, with a lot of our elders, which kind of speaks to the point of, always training your successors, because at a certain point, just with old age and what happens to you after you're in certain fights for a long time. It doesn't happen to everybody, but to some of our freedom fighters, you start to kind of, question what was it all for, especially so when you start to see if there's been any real tangible, movement or success or progress, and you kind of, I think about a lot, Nelson Mandela, like who he was before and after the imprisonment. And, what happened around, when they quote unquote ended apartheid and some of the solutions and things that were pushed for after he was released. And, how soft people say he was, it's like, it's just a lot to process. There's a nuanced conversation around that. So I'm, definitely honest to that brother for the fights that he put in, even with the way in which we saw him present himself with Kanye, with Trump in that meeting and stuff like that. It's a nuanced conversation. But what I wanted to do before you close the room, because I feel like it's going that direction, I wanted to just talk about, I'm a cinephile, right? So I grew up watching all types of movies, especially our classics. But, being that, like, I find myself sometimes talking and speaking in movie quotes and stuff. So as we were talking about this, this topic, and we're going on and on about, Pan-Africanism and all the things that's going on, I thought about the movie Matrix, right? And that's one of my favorite, if not my all-time favorite movie. And I was thinking about the scene where Morpheus was talking to Neo about how powerful the agents are. And he's telling him, yo, like, I've seen this, I've seen that. Like, I've seen, men punch at them and hit nothing but air and shoot whole clips and hit nothing. And Neo's like, well, damn, like what chance do I have then? Like if this is what you're talking about. And he's like, no, but they still live in a world that's based on rules. So they have limits. And so he says, wait, you think you telling me that I'm able to dodge bullets? And he's like, now when the time comes, you're not gonna have to. And then he goes on to tell him, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, understand though that the Matrix is a system, and those that you know and love, some of our professionals, our lawyers, doctors, blah, 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 they're still plugged into the Matrix. And as long as they're plugged in, they depend on it. And since they depend on it, they will fight to protect it. So I'm, bringing that all up. And the analogy that I'm making is the Pan-Africanists are the agents, and they do have a lot of power, like Naheem said. But they're still based in a world that is confined by rules. And the rules of this game is that after all these years, 30, 40, 50 decades, I'm in what most people believe is the capital of Pan-Africanism, and where a lot of these organizations are birthed or spend a lot of their time, here in Chicago. And when I'm in these rooms with them, their rooms, their echo chambers, when I tell you that the average age of their membership is elderly, their message is not resonating with the youth. And that's one of the things that they openly bemoan, that they're not attracting new people in huge enough numbers to sustain this movement. And so I'm saying our key, like our way in, as we're looking to unplug more of our people from this paradigm, is that our power will always be and has always been in the people. And so though they have the connections, though they look as if they are a paid arm of the Democratic Party, the bottom line is that they don't have and they have never had the power of the people. And I think that's one of the things in which keeps them alive, but why they push Pan-Africanism so much. Because you got to ask yourself, and I was thinking about this as I've been listening to this space. If our people get repaired in the country that we built, how many of us are looking to patriate or repatriate or go to Africa? Most of us don't want to go now. And even back in the day, when we think about Garvey, and someone else said a woman's name, I got to get the name of that on the playback, who they consider the mother of Pan-Africanism. Remember,
that's Anna J. Cooper.
Thank you, Anna J. Cooper. But long before that, we had the American Colonization Society.
That's right.
And so this concept of sending Black Americans, quote unquote, back to Africa, that plays right into their hands. And so in the same way, bringing it full circle, and I'll pull my iron horse to the station on this, the same way in which somebody like King Randall, his message tickles the ears and makes the racists on the right feel good because they understand how limited that do for self message is the same exact way Pan-Africanism tickles the ears and make the left-wing racists feel good. Because when you study this movement, when you study our people, when you study Reconstruction and abolition and everything leading up to this point, there has always been a contingency of quote unquote good white people that didn't want us enslaved or oppressed, but didn't want us living next to them and were okay with us wanting to go back to Africa. And the Pan-Africanism of today tickles the ears and the fancy of those people that have always felt that that was a better solution than giving us what we were owed and what we are due in the country that our ancestors built. Thank you for the space, brothers. I'm definitely looking to build. We got work to do. Look out for the space that's coming up to kind of link what's going on with Cori Bush and what's happening, the latest that's going on in the New York reparations movement. On that, my stations and my horses in the
Well,
station.
let me say this before you go about Anna J. Cooper. She's also considered the mother of Black feminism as well. So when you're saying that they don't have recruits, so essentially this is partly why I brought her up, because essentially they're going to be trying to recruit feminists, black feminists, into the Pan-Africanist movement, right? That's going to be part of the play. And as we know, that's also part of the play of the Democratic Party, to recruit black feminists to say, you know what, this is the party of black women. So black feminists, it becomes, a no-brainer for them. If you don't vote, like they tried to do, Ice Cube, if you're not going for the Democrats, you must be against black women, because essentially, they're getting recruited, and so that's going to be part of
Mm-hmm.
the recruitment strategy of Pan-Africanists, along with the Democratic Party, is to recruit black feminists. So that, yeah, they may not have them now, but if they're getting the money, them black feminists are going to come. Build it and they'll come. They're going to come for that money.
That's right.
That 3 million. Yeah, they coming for that.
Wow.
Yeah, my bad, y'all. I have a movie quote that I want to end with, and that was a powerful, powerful breakdown by Brother Divine, man. I use a matrix analogy as well when I'm dealing with people on the right. I'm not going to get into that one, but I want to get into a quote from a Bronx Tale. That movie is one of my favorite movies too. And there's a scene where Sonny is building with Colangelo, and they're talking about fear and love. And he asked him, is it better? Colangelo asked Sonny, is it better to be loved or to be feared? And Sonny replied, that's a good question. It's nice to be both, but it's very difficult. But if I had my choice, I would rather be feared. Fear lasts longer than love. And see, the Democrats right now, they love us. We just give away our votes for nothing. Only thing they gotta say is Republican bad. That's it. They don't fear us. And when I say fear, I'm not speaking of like invading the Capitol fear. I'm talking about weaponizing our votes in a way to let them know that the power that you enjoy from our love, because we're ignorant to what as a group, right? When I say us, I'm speaking about us, because we are one people. They say we're not a monolith. Yeah, some people say that, but when they was passing them Dred Scott decisions and all of that stuff, and that was going on during Reconstruction, it was monolithic. It was monolithic. So anyway, we haven't weaponized our votes yet. We haven't weaponized our political acumen, right? That we're gaining as we go along with this reparationist movement. People are starting to realize, like, I really can't deal with these guys. Like, I'll beat them up on stuff of a political nature and legislative processes and all of that stuff. I mean, I've been trained and memorized that stuff. But when it comes to like the nuts and bolts of what they're talking about, meaning what we are talking about, they know that they can't touch us, because this reparations thing is not a single issue. It is not just direct cash payments. It is a bunch of other things designed to repair all of the things that are broken with us as a whole people. As a whole people. And until we put the fear, the same fear that we have when we're facing eviction, the same fear that we have when our lights are about to get cut off the next day, the same fear that we have when they're about to come cut the water off, those fears that we have had in this country due to the fact that we had to endure the systemic racism in this country. When we can weaponize that and turn it back on the party that we vote between an 85 and 90% clip for, they're going to keep doing what they're doing to us, which is letting us fade away into non-relevance as a people, while another people will come in and eat all of our bread. And that's going on right now. We have to put the fear in them. And that starts with us. That starts with us right now. That thing with Cori Bush should be enough to trigger all of us. With Cori Bush and those Narcan and Cobra operatives should be enough to trigger every last one of us to get on one accord, because we're looking at the economic projections and we see how things are going to look for us 30 years from now. That's why nobody can tell us nothing, because we have so much data and statistics to back up what it is that we're saying. We just pull this stuff right up. You can't tell me, oh, go get a job. Well, if I just go get it, what you saying, get a job to catch up to you? That's right. Well, according to the studies, the data, and the data, it showed that it's going to take me 228 years to catch up to the Head Start you received by cutting us off from economic opportunities, cutting us off from welfare safety nets for 30 years while you built the whole middle class up off of it. And then when we got it, we got crumbs off the slices of cake that you all received. 228 years is what that study says. Sorry, we won't take your suggestion because we're already working. We're already working. So that's the message that I want to end this particular space with, that we have to put the fear in these people by weaponizing our votes. Judge Joe Brown says something that I actually agreed with. I disagreed at first, and I disagree with a bunch of stuff he says. I ain't gonna get into that right now. But I disagree with a bunch of stuff he says, and some stuff he says I actually agree with. And he said, hold your nose and go to the polls and vote Republican if you have to. That'll be a way to send a message. That'll be a way to send a message. And that's what we are. I'm not saying that that's something that we're planning on doing. I'm just saying, how else are we going to implement the fear that I'm speaking about right now? Go ahead, Brother Ali.
No, my bad, man. You mentioned about the loss of opportunity or being cut off. I was looking at something from Duke University where it's a report talking about, it says that after slavery, 425,000 Black families, not individuals, Black families, had nearly 20 million acres of farmland in the South by 1910. And understand, and this makes it even more egregious. We were denied those 40-acre land plots by and large, and the people who did receive them got it taken back, most of them. So this 20 million acres of land that these people acquired by the year 1910 is land that they acquired on their own accord. Talking about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. They have since lost 14 million acres, often at the hands of the United States Department of Agriculture. In other instances, racial terrorism, things like it's cheating,
heirs property laws,
the heirs property issues, eminent domain, things of that nature. So I just want people to understand too that it's not about that we didn't do, because a lot of times I think people feel like, well, all you got to do is this, why don't you just do, well, there's a lot of stuff that was already done without the help of government, without the help of anybody on the outside. And these things were actually stolen from us or taken out from under our feet. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, between this farmland that we talk about, the millions of dollars worth of property that was lost in places like Chicago. You read the report about that yourself, Naheem, with, all of the, millions or billions of dollars of property that was lost by blacks.
Well, it was the value of
Yes,
the property, 3.5 to $4 billion. Freedmen in Chicago lost due to those racist housing practices back in the day.
exactly. So you're talking, and now when they talk about this 20 million acres of farmland in the South, those are the southern states. Imagine how much property people have lost in various states across the country due to various, different reasons, that we are talking about right now. And so I think the magnitude of this thing is so large that it's hard for people to grasp how far this thing really goes. They stole stuff from people. That people actually worked for. This ain't no 40 acres and a mule stuff. This 20 million acres that they got on their own. And the majority of the stuff was taken from them. And they're still losing it till this day.
And given to who? White immigrants, just like MLK said. The
That's
100
right.
million, 100 million white immigrants were given what was ours.
Come on, bro. You said it. You said it. But that was all I wanted to say, bro. Just wanted to add that.
Indeed. Powerful, man. Powerful. This has been another great space brought to you by the brothers of BTP. Y'all make sure y'all check out the video that we did on YouTube last night on our BTP Media Group channel, where we gave a more in-depth dissection of this House Resolution 414 by Cori Bush, and we exposed these operatives that are backing her. Well, I guess that she's backing. I don't want to say that's backing her. She's the politician. She's backing them. She let them draft up that trash, and she doesn't know how much hot water she's in with us. I'm ready to find out some people out in St. Louis and build with them. Like, we got to start sending a message. We have to make them fear us, that the freedmen rallied the people in her district in St. Louis and got her voted out because she chose to be on the side of the enemies to our cause. Like, that's how you deliver a political consequence. That's how you do it. And that's what I'm talking about, family. Peace, son. You good? How was school? That's what's up. My son about to graduate high school, y'all. I'm so proud of him. I'm so
Congrats. Much
proud of
congrats.
him.
Amen.
Yeah, man.
Amen.
Yep. So let me close this space down, man. Thank you all. We've been on here for a few hours. Thank you all for participating, man. Brother Devon, you already know what time it is. Brother Ian, you came up cooking. Sister Queen B came up cooking. Everybody came. Brother Ty Harper came up
Stilettos.
cooking. That's right. Our sister Antonia, the Freeman. We formed like Voltron up in this piece, man. I'm telling
Riri in the
you.
building.
That's right.
Buffalo in
I
the
see you.
building. Freeman
That's right.
sister in the building. You guys,
That's
come
right.
on, man. Everybody, we see you. See what
That's
time
right.
it is.
Sister Sean, Sister Shanna, everybody, the fam is in the building, man. Our brother Fairness came up, rocked out. What's this, son? Oh, I got you. Rehearsals, I got you. All right, so yeah, man. Shout out Sister Cindy. Shout out to everybody, man, that rock with us. Sister
Cindy
Frida.
in the building.
That's
Frida
right.
in the
Buffalo
building.
was good, Buffalo. We got the fam up in here. Sister Sunny up here. She been rocking out, listening. The OG Otis was good, OG.
OG Otis.
You
Building.
know? And so all right, man, we're gonna get up out of here. I will leave you all with the motto of our platform, which is don't just fight the power, become the power. And then and only then will you have the power to make a change. And with that, I say peace.
Peace.